We'll start with some choice quotes. Ann Coulter says she thinks is the most, quote, corrupt presidency in U.S. history. Andrew McCarthy from the National Review. Ben Shapiro has said that Trump is, agreed, was radically corrupt. Tucker Carlson has said similar things. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes. It's widely known that Trump is insanely corrupt.
Democrat voters want voter ID. Democratic voters want men out of women's sports. Democrat voters want criminal aliens deported.
It's not a debate on trans. It's not a debate on illegal immigration. So what's the evidence that the DNC is trying to get illegal immigrants out to vote? That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, hold on. Let's just take this.
You have nothing. Just like your example with Keith Ellison.
I do want you guys
Corruption is something that you have to pay for. Trump is using leverage that belongs in trust to the American people and is using it to pad his bank account. And so you just gave an account for these crypto deals. Like, what public interest is served by him making out like a bandit with a deal with the United Arab Emirates? What public interest is served with him? That's different. That's Qatar, different countries. United Arab Emirates, Qatar.
Here's the money.
That's not corruption, even if it were true.
That's not corruption, even if it were true.
So Trump is corrupt because he said no new wars, right? Did Trump say no new wars? And so he's corrupt, on your view?
So
yes or no?
So you
answer the question. Yes, and that leak happened under Trump's administration, his first administration.
With ICE, Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
You know you just fucked yourself, right? You know what you just said. You know you just fucked yourself, right? Was the lawsuit about FISA? What was the lawsuit about that Trump brought?
So what
was the lawsuit about that Trump brought?
Violations that the government had against Trump.
What violation was it? What violation was it that he sued about?
I'm not litigating that right now.
Do you know? Do you know or do you not know what he sued over?
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant what he sued over. You just heard him say it's irrelevant what he sued over. He's trying to litigate the merits of what he was suing over, and he doesn't know what he sued over.
Stop. He is asking you a question. Just say if you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know.
Well, he already gave us the answer.
I'm going to say I decline to answer.
Yeah, you declined to answer because you're a coward fuck, because you know you got because you know you got owned once again.
Yes, Dev is getting coffee. He should be here in a minute.
You guys are both
started.
All visible and audible, just heads up, and we're live.
Noted. Right.
Thanks.
What's up, other people?
What up?
Donate to Whick, not Pisco. He sucks.
Look.
You're getting the views.
That's cringe. That's cringe. Okay.
I'm cringe.
Regardless, you guys know the drill. I think you've all been on my show before. I'll introduce a topic. I'll say hi to my audience, give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves, and have brief opening thoughts on the subject at hand. Is there any questions before we begin?
I'm wondering, listen, I don't usually like openings at all, Wick, but I'm wondering if you could be a little bit more lenient on the openings, just because it is a kind of like conversation about the amount and the amount of things that occurred. And so I've not had a comprehensive list or anything, but I do want to touch on a lot of stuff. And I know we're not going to be able to talk about all of it, but I just think the audience deserves to see like the full track record, at least some reasonable approximation.
Yeah, tell you what, as long as it's not like, if you're like, when we say more lenient, I can give you a few minutes. But if it's like 5 or 10, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, like is like 4 or 5 okay? I probably won't even take that long, but
yeah, okay. Yeah, try not to take 5 minutes.
I won't.
But yeah. Well, yeah, I'll allow it for this one. And in that case, we'll let you start your opener right now while I go live, and then Dev, when he gets here, we'll just.
You want me to start talking like soon?
Yeah, we're gonna start talking like now. Hold on, give me a second.
All right, just let me know when to start.
It's gonna be like 10 seconds where my little animation.
Always difficult.
Aren't you gonna do your intro? Listen, I try not to be difficult. Gibbs, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, it'll be like a 10-second silence while I got a little thing that plays.
Okay.
Anyway, give me a second. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Whick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Today, we have a show for you. The Trump admin has come under fire for a variety of recent scandals involving corruption, which begs the question, who is more corrupt, the Trump admin or the Democrats? Is there any comparison? What we're going to talk about today is whether or not the Trump admin is the most corrupt presidency administration we've had in our lifetime. We are excited to be here. We got some great guests. Dev is on his way. He's getting coffee. He is Canadian. You got to forgive him a little bit of his lateness, but we're gonna get into it. And I wanna give the mic first to Pisco. He has a bit of a long-winded opener, but that's okay. And then we're gonna just go around the room. Pisco, mic is yours. Go ahead,
I hope
sir.
it's not too long-winded, but thank you guys all for coming. In general, I think that it's notable that people like Ryan Mullally and Rob Noor and Average Debate Enjoyer didn't show up to this, cause that they spend so much time talking about, which is this comparison on corruption. So I just want to say that that's notable, but it's not surprising because this issue is like not a difficult one. I take corruption to be the use of entrusted authority or power for unlawful or improper motivations. And on this, it's like just a staggering amount of evidence that the corruption of the Trump administration is way galaxies bigger than anything even alleged of Democrats. We'll start with some choice quotes. Ann Coulter says she thinks this is the most, quote, corrupt presidency in U.S. history. Andrew McCarthy from the National Review says the difference between the Biden family business and the Trump family business in terms of the allegations, you'd have to add 2 digits to the sum of Biden abusive powers, foreign entanglements, and corruption alleged in the House Republican report to get near to what Trump has raked in just from the United Arab Emirates. Ben Shapiro has said that Trump is agreed was radically corrupt. Tucker Carlson has said similar things. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes, even among the class of Republican commentators, it's widely known that Trump is insanely corrupt. And I started making a list. I spent like 20, 30 minutes just jotting things down. And I had to stop because it was just like too much that we're not going to have time to go over. But I put some big buckets, and I just want to go through at least some of those big buckets. The first is on political prosecutions or attempted political prosecutions. You have Comey twice, one for the alleged bullshit lie to Congress, one for 8647. You have Letitia James, Adam Schiff, attempted political prosecution, the quote-unquote seditious six, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Jason Crow, Chris DeLuzio, Maggie Goodlander, Representative Chrissy Howland. Trump directed the DOJ and Pam Bondi to go after Obama. He said to investigate it for treason. The prosecution or the attempted prosecution of the sitting Federal Reserve Chair Powell, and also Lisa Cook as well for the mortgage fraud stuff. In terms of interference with the Department of Justice, another bucket, he ordered the Department of Justice to end all Jan 6 terrorists with prejudice. All of those charges were dropped with prejudice. This was before he pardoned them all. The Mayor Adams case, where this was in a quid pro quo for immigration help. The DOJ slush fund, the quote-unquote anti-weaponization fund. We're talking about $1 billion plus, where he's on both sides of the V, suing his own government that he controls. The Department of Justice and the IRS did a tax liability waiver in addition to the anti-weaponization fund. They dropped the DOJ investigation into Tom Homan, dropped multiple investigations, including the DOJ investigation into Elon Musk. They prevented federal cooperation investigation into the murder of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They released Alexander Smirnov, the Russian asset who falsely accused Biden of corruption. In terms of the Bureau of Prisons, additionally, they downgraded the severity of the confinement conditions for Ghislaine Maxwell. They shut down the entire crypto investigation enforcement team at the Department of Justice. They fired all manner of inspector generals whose job it is to report corruption. Again, that's just the stuff that I'm spitballing. There's more. Corrupt pardons, the Jan 6 pardons of seditious conspiracy, Oath Keepers, the case of Joseph Swartz, where you have millions of dollars being paid to lobbyists with connections to Trump and to members that are close to in order to get a pardon. Those are fraud related to nursing homes. He was indicted under Biden. The similar pardon of Paul Walkaz, stealing millions from nurses and healthcare aides. Very similar lobbying scheme. So it's an open door in terms of bribery for pardons, to say nothing of the pardon of the Binance CEO, who also has ties to United Arab Emirates and helped on this World Financial Liberty coin and the stable coin and everything that was happening with the crypto stuff. The pressure campaign against the state of Oregon to get Tina Peters pardoned. On the Epstein files, he called the files an Obama hoax. He uses official power to try to cover them up. He uses administration to hail in dissenting Republicans into the Situation Room to coerce their votes in the Epstein Transparency Act. On agency actions, immigration actions filled with corruption, viewpoint discrimination against students, schools, attack on law firms. The USDA did a rule reversal from the Department of Agriculture at the request of Pilgrim's Pride, one of the biggest donors to the Trump inauguration. They have the ICE contracts with conflicts of interest for Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller. Trump took a $50 million stake, the Defense Department, into Vulcan Elements Company. This was a mineral company that Don Jr. had an ownership interest into and loaned it $620 million. The valuation jumped to $2 billion just because it was Donald Trump Jr.'s investment. He ordered U.S. Coast Guard bases and facilities to sell his own branded wine and cider. He blocked this bridge in Detroit where Howard Lutnick has an interest in the other bridge. He's raking in billions on the UAE crypto scheme, to say nothing of the Trump meme coins, which is a rug pull of his own people, where entities that are funding the meme coin include North Korea, Iran, and Russia, aligned people, fundraising to promote private national security briefings, the Qatar airplane bribe, government contracts to the ballroom donors, and more, the FIFA shit. It is not ending. And it's crazy to think that there's anything among the Democrats that even is close in comparison in terms of the amount and the sort of nature of the corrupt offenses.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You weren't kidding with long-winded, but we'll get to it. Dev's internet's having problems. Hopefully he can fix it and we can get here soon. But the show must go on. We're going to give it to Stream Rift, please.
Well, of course, always appreciate an opportunity to discuss topics like this with Pisco. Appreciate Gibbs for showing up too, and looking for Dev when he gets here. The prompt here is the Trump admin more corrupt than Democrats? And that's an insane and indefinite position. Obviously, Trump as one man, or even as one admin, cannot compete with the entirety of the DNC. Now, I had a nice bunch of prep here, but I'm going to actually go over some of the things that I heard while Pisco was laying out his case. First, he had to start out by crying about Ryan and Rob not wanting to be here, and that was an interesting opening move, but fine. If we're going to do that, we'll do that. But one of the things that stuck out, he said, then even alleged. They say, oh, he says, this is worse than what was even alleged. Bill Clinton's alleged to have gone to Pedo Island in the Epstein files 33 times. Now, we can say that's just an allegation, but your standard was even alleged. If we go to that far, most people are going to say both sides eat babies and want to destroy the future for our children, to disagree on the methods and how we'll get there. So I went ahead, I put together a document. I'll make this available to everyone. There's no shortage of corruption of, for example, we'll go specifically to the DNC. We're not even going to say all Democrats. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say most rank and file Democrats probably themselves are not corrupt. So I wouldn't go doing that. However, the DNC has managed to do something really impressive. Allegedly, it represents the interests of Democrat voters. Democrats unite, they raise money, they do their digital ground game. They get all excited and they say, fuck MAGA, fuck conservatives, vote blue no matter who, things like that. I'll give you 3 issues: voter ID, men and women sports, and deporting criminal aliens. I bring these up and you say, perhaps, oh, these are conservative talking points. Why are we dealing with them? Well, the answer is simple. Voters, Democrat voters, unambiguously vote and poll. We know they want these things, but the DNC doesn't like that. And so when we have an entire establishment that's able to get itself elected against the will of even the people that claim to support it, I'm far more concerned with that level of corruption of the entire fucking machinery of the United States government than I'm about one man who I think you're not being fair to. But even if I grant every argument you made, it doesn't touch the fact that the DNC has hijacked American interests for decades. So no, I don't think Trump's more corrupt.
We'll get into it, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Dev, can you hear us? Are you here?
Yes, I'm here. And I was
Beautiful.
listening to the opening on my phone while fixing things. No, it turned out the when I was moving all the boxes and stuff, that like the cable in the router got unplugged and I had to restart it. But I'm here.
Welcome.
And I've listened to Pisco's huge opening, and he covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in it. So there's no point in going over it again. I will just add one thing. I focused primarily on financial corruption because I don't really know the law that well. I did a video on it. And I'll point out one final thing that Pisco didn't point out. I did the math in that video, and it turns out that Trump's corruption has brought in more in just raw dollars than the entire net worth of the Bidens, the Pelosi's, the Obamas, and the Clintons by about 10 times. So even if you believe that all 4 of those families, every single dollar they've ever earned has been corruptly earned, which is ridiculous. Even if you believe that, Trump still has them beat in raw dollar value.
What's that rough dollar amount you have? Yeah, real quick, just okay.
It's between $3 and $4 billion for Trump's corruption.
Okay. Well, we'll get into it. Thank you for being here, Dev.
No problem.
We'll get into it as we go. Sorry. Gibbs, please.
Yeah, I won't be as long as them. I think it's rich that these people, these fine individuals over here, are going to compare Trump's alleged corruption to what it amounts to basically Tammany Hall at the national level. I mean, basically what Pisco laid out is equivalent to a bunch of bloviating by a bunch of fish on the weekend. It doesn't matter. It's not really that important. It's all alleged. If we want to go down the alleged route where everything alleged is true, I don't think that's a game they really want to play based off all the things the Dems are accused of. But I did a little math. Pisco is right about one thing. Just based off from 2024 to 2025, the Trump administration has recovered double the amount in fraud than the Biden administration. They covered about 3.1 billion. The estimates I'm seeing are saying in 2025 they recovered 6.1, and they're on pace to hit similar numbers this year. And they've upped the ramping of the convictions and indictments, which I have the numbers of those as well. It's a substantial amount. So whenever they inevitably say that, Biden was the one who started looking for the fraud here, this is actually a continuation of his first term. We see a lot of this going forward. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of substance to any of this, and most of this is not affecting me as a taxpayer. I believe most of our politicians are corrupt. I believe they probably all eat babies, as Steve said. I'm just not buying that Trump's more corrupt than them. I see him more akin to the forest fire that burns down the forest and all the brush so that the new forest can rise up and help everybody out equally. And that's kind of where I see it at right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, guys.
Of course. With that, the floor is open to discussions. If I tell you to shut up, please shut up. It's because you're talking over each other, and I might have questions as we go. But with that, go ahead.
So it is funny that you said like it's like Tammany Hall. Tammany Hall is like a corrupt Democratic machine that existed in New York, and so I think that that's a concession that it's corruption from the Trump administration. If you say that it's like
I'm calling
Tammany
the
Hall.
I'm saying the Dems, or if that wasn't clear, the Dems, the Democratic Party right now is Tammany Hall at a national level.
And based on what? What is the evidence of Democratic corruption that you've introduced?
I mean, we could look at the fraud, the healthcare fraud. We double the amount. We're seeing all the fraud in
You mean the healthcare fraud that you acknowledged that the Biden administration was going after in your opening statement?
I did not acknowledge. Once again, I said I knew for the inevitable comment that was going to come that we can look at.
Do you disagree with that factual circumstance? The Democrats went after that corruption?
I absolutely do. I mean, I don't disagree.
In virtue of what do you disagree with the Democrats? Okay, so here's the evidence. Here's the evidence that I have.
Okay, we're already talking over each other. Okay, so just real quick. Gibbs, why don't you believe this? And then once you say that, we can give it to Pisco and Dev to give their evidence of why it's
right. Yeah, it's real simple. Well, one, I sat here and I crunched the numbers. Right, I looked at them and I said at the beginning, right, okay, this was going to be their claim that the Dems looked into this. Well, sure, they looked into it, but it's really they gave out low hanging fruit, so that way they could point and say, "Hey, we got him." And then when I look over here, we're seeing, 455 defendants have been charged this year alone with over 6.5 billion alleged fraud just on Medicaid. We're looking at 295 defendants. That's about 518 million in broad state participation acts right here. That's national healthcare fraud. That's under Trump. That was 2026, 2025. We're looking at over 324 defendants charged, over 14.6 billion in alleged. This dwarfs what the Dems did under these.
Yes. So even if it were true, and I don't believe your numbers, I think these are all AI generated. I think you're reading from an AI script. But even if I believed your numbers there, right? Like so even
you gotta let Pisco respond.
Even if I believed your the number comparison there, that Trump was just better at getting fraud, which is an obscene thing to say after you can see him moving DOJ resources off fraud to go to immigration. They're completely shutting down the crypto fraud and antitrust divisions of the DOJ and their inspector generals. So your accounts here are completely absurd and obscene and insulting. But even if, what I will say is, even if I believed it, to say that the Democrats were like worse at enforcing fraud, which again I don't believe, wouldn't itself be corruption, correct? Yes or no?
Well, hold on. If we're moving off the immigration, and immigration is fraud, it's a type of fraud, and there's millions of illegals.
Did you hear what I just asked, Gibbs?
Yeah, I did. And
what was my question? The question is, you're pointing to like more fraud cut under Trump. Again, I'm telling you, I don't believe your numbers and your calculations. I mean, but even if I did,
your numbers, you're just running them over.
But even dropping
Pisco.
I mean, yeah, I have the numbers.
Did you hear the question? I want an answer to the question. The question is, why would that amount to corruption by Democrats if they were less good at rooting out fraud done by private persons?
If you see that's real simple. Where do you see these fraudulent actions being taking place? In what states?
Across the country.
Right, in major blue cities.
Answer the question. Why would it be the case?
I answered the question. Yeah. Hold on. You can interrupt me every time I answer. That means I'm going to stop answering. It's in major blue cities. It's in California. It's in Oregon. It's in Minnesota. We're seeing this time and time again. And then when we see it in places like Texas, guess who it's being done by?
So an administration, but that's not the question you were being asked, right? So an administration, an administration.
You gotta hold on, Gibbs. You gotta let him
an administration.
An
administration led by Democrats. You concede open investigations into fraud in Minnesota, correct? Yes.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah, so but the question is, if they were doing a policy of willful blindness, what you're suggesting here is the fact that it's happening. Let me finish what I'm saying. So if it were the case that what is happening is they're overlooking, they're being willfully blind, you wouldn't expect to see, would you, them initiating corruption investigations and bringing charges?
Yeah, you would. It's the whole point of having a fall guy. If they go after a couple of ones. So let's say I've got this great idea. I know we've got these wonderful fine daycares in pick a city, or we'll just imagine. And we've got all this money coming. We say, look, we got to at least pretend. Let's get a few of them. And then, of course, some are going to get away with it.
Yeah, but of course you're wrong. Of course you're wrong that in terms of the nature of the cases that were brought against corruption. So first of all, which cases are you saying are the fall guys? You don't have any idea what you're talking about. So which of the types of cases that you say that you're characterizing right now in front of hundreds of people as fall guys? What kinds of cases are those?
When you get done,
you don't know the first thing about these cases, do you?
So what I'd like to do is talk about the Democrats, the DNC in particular, are way more corrupt. So how do we get from what you're talking about?
So we're just moving off of this point. So you just made an allegation that
off of the fucking ticket. Even
so you want to move off of it because you have no evidence for your claim that the Democrats are selectively. You're fatigued. In other words, of saying that you don't want to talk anymore about this claim that you made. You made a separate claim. It's a growing. Wait. So you made it. It's a growing and evolving story, and your growing and evolving story is what explains the fact that according to whatever AI summary that he's reading to, the actual.
Well, I mean, how about the audio logs from the AG? I mean, you see that's
what explains
the AG up? I have the audio logs from Keith Ellison.
So the evolving.
Pull up. So that's not AI, buddy.
So the evolving.
Hold on, Gibbs. Housekeeping thing. Your gain. I don't know what's wrong with it.
So the evolving story is as follows. This is the evolving story. When it was brought to your attention that
now you're way too quiet, dude. You're way too quiet.
Okay, how about now? We better now.
So the evolving story is as follows. The evolving story is as follows. Yes, let me finish. Is when it was brought to your attention that these fraud prosecutions, many of the core ones, started under Biden. Your response was, well, these are patsies, these are fall guys, and you don't have any evidence for that claim, and that's why you want to move off of it, correct?
No, I don't want to move off it. I have evidence for that. Keith Ellison even says not to go after certain people. We have this on file with the Minnesota.
What did Keith Ellison say?
One of the places. I mean, why don't you look it up? If you're not prepared,
you're the one bringing up.
You're making the hold on. First time using AI. Now I'm providing an audio log. You can look up.
You haven't provided jack shit. What is the quote from Keith Ellison?
You made a whole bunch of claims. Once again, Keith Ellison says they want to not insert themselves in the political arena on certain issues regarding the Somalis. This is like I'm basically summarizing because it's like a 3-minute conversation. We have audio on, but
you don't have a choice quote. So you're saying Keith Ellison says we need to not go after fraud?
I'm not going to read 3 minutes of paragraph. I'm not going to.
What is the essence of what he's saying? What are you saying he said?
The essence is you're saying, why would they do this? Well, we know they have a machine that's entrenched. We know this is something they're doing. We're going after that machine. We're seeing how these Democratic-funded government, these senators in Minnesota, put money back into the Democratic campaigns. They see this over and over.
You were asked what Keith Ellison said.
And you were asked what Keith Ellison said. I'm talking now. You didn't answer any of my questions, so I'm going to keep going. And so when I sit here,
what was the question I didn't answer?
Healthcare, and then I look at the healthcare in California, I look at the healthcare in Minnesota, and I see the fraud going forth, and I see more people being indicted under Trump in 2 years than were the entire time under the Biden administration. And they recovered double. It's pretty clear to me that when we can trace this back to the Democratic Party and the funding of it, that it's
failed.
One party has a natural.
You've failed to do that.
You failed logic class. A plus B.
You got hold on, Gibbs. You got to let him respond to that.
So I do want to let Dev go, but the last thing I'll say on this is you were asked what Keith Ellison said that substantiated your proposition. It is your factual claim that the reason that we are seeing prosecutions be initiated and investigations initiated under the Democratic leadership at the Department of Justice. I'll let you know, Keith Ellison is not a DOJ official, so what he says doesn't bear on what the Department of Justice did. But again, that's how laughable that the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, correct?
Yeah, that would be the
okay. So he has. So I was correct. So why are you? So I was correct. He has no.
What is the Attorney General?
The Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, and I'm talking about the Department of Justice under Joe Biden. And under Joe Biden, there were federal investigations, and your response to that was, as you co-signed, that this is to make fall guys. It's actually just to it's to make fall guys. That was your claim, and to support that claim, you said, "Well, look at what Keith Ellison said." And I'm asking what Keith Ellison said, and you're not responding to that.
Right. Listen, what I'm saying is, once again, we have evidence. I'll just read the quotes. I think that's the easiest way. I'll read two of them. Yeah, there's the two quotes from Keith Ellison. It says, the only way to protect what we have is by inserting ourselves in the political arena by putting votes where it needs to be. Most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates who will fight to one of our interests. One of the Somali communities says in the recording. And then that's right. Ellison responds. So he's agreed. Then we later find out this is someone that's
I'm sorry.
fraud.
Did anyone understand how?
Let me finish.
Yeah. Did anyone understand that?
Okay, once again, I mean, listen, mate, open your ears, Papa. You talk fast, I talk fast. Get some notes. There's an AI program you were just talking about. It takes notes for you. I took a meeting in good faith with people I didn't know, and some turned out to have done bad things. Oh, wow, it's crazy.
So your standard. So just to be clear, just to be clear, your standard of corruption. So this is to be clear on your standard of corruption. Is that Keith?
That's your standard.
So your standard of corruption, because you're going to get eviscerated by this the minute we start talking about Trump. Your standard for corruption is Keith Ellison took a meeting with a guy who was bad and did fraud.
And then he agreed with the fraudster.
Oh, really? That's not what that quote said. That quote said, "I agree with the fraud."
Well, we read the quote. We can move on.
You read the quote. It didn't say what you said.
Okay. Hold on. I do want to give it to Dev a little bit. He's been trying to get in here. Dev. You're muted on your end.
Yes. Okay. So, Gibbs, just real quick, you're talking about this here, right? This is what you're reading off of?
That's one of them.
Yeah. The National Healthcare Fraud Takedown results in 455 defendants charged in connection with over $6.5 billion in alleged fraud. Okay.
That's
I decided, while you guys were talking, I decided to skim through this. I wanted to see what was going on. Cases in 56 federal districts, 45 U.S. states and territories, 50 state Medicaid fraud control units participating, the most in department history. Let's see, what do we got here? There's one defendant from Kyrenia who had a $3.7 billion scheme. Two defendants from Estonia, $10.6 billion in the Philippines. Okay. I read through the whole thing. Where are the Democrats implicated in this at all? Well, there's a whole bunch of fraudsters, but nothing related to the Democrats are in here.
Where are the Democrats?
You're going at the wrong angle. The whole fucking premise of that was the Democrats were turning a blind eye to it, not that they were explicitly.
Where's the evidence for that claim?
But we do know the game.
Yeah, but what's the evidence for that claim?
We have evidence. Ellison, for example, speaking of Ellison, once again,
that was an embarrassing attempt at your point to say that the Democrats were given a blind
you don't need to talk over on it.
Ellison did receive donations from several of the convicted fraudsters, including the Center for the American Experiment.
Well,
so we actually took money from them?
Hold on, just wait. Just real quick, Gibbs.
Nothing.
Gibbs, you do know that it says in here that at least some of these investigations began in 2024, right?
At least some. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of
investigations. Well, that means that they began under Biden, though, right?
I also said, if you recall my opening, that many of the cases, some of the cases were even opened as far as back as 2016. So the Trump administration was prosecuting some of these cases all the way through the Biden administration.
Hold on, who was president in 2016?
2015, whatever, Trump's first term, whatever you would have used, like all the way back.
That's 2017, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, 2016 was Obama, but no. Here's the thing, right?
Yeah, so it's clear that like all the way under 2016, 2017.
These investigations take years to investigate, just so you're aware, right? And so
that's my
the point is, once again, you have Trump taking credit as though Democrats were taking a blind eye towards fraud under Biden's watch, and meanwhile, you have Trump shutting down white-collar crime investigatory units, crypto fraud investigatory units. He is pardoning, and you have the gall to sit here and talk about how horrible Medicare and medical-related fraud is. He pardoned at least two individuals, and probably more. Let me finish.
Stop talking at some point.
He pardoned two individuals who paid $1 million+ in lobbying fees to get access to Laura Loomer and others to get a pardon from this administration and not have to pay back millions of dollars back to the people they defrauded in their nursing home scam. And you want to sit here and say, well, that shows the Democrats are corrupt. You're Looney Tunes, bro.
Wait, so is immigration fraud or not?
That's a different subject. Immigration fraud is a different subject.
It is a type of fraud, right? Yeah,
it is a type of fraud by private persons and doesn't implicate Democrats unless you can prove it.
Go ahead, Dev. Yeah,
so just real quick, Gibbs, because this, I don't believe you were reading off of ChatGPT because some of the things you were saying are in what I just pulled up. These are real cases, and I assume the numbers are going to be they're solid. It's just that I don't see the connection to the Democrats. Like, this is real fraud. I don't think you can say that you can pin this on Democrats. I don't see the connection there.
Do you agree? Let's just maybe take a more narrow set first, and then we can expand it. Do you agree that there has been some fraud in Minnesota specifically tracked to daycare centers?
Yeah, we grant that. And Democrats and leadership in the Department of Justice under President Biden went after it, and you have no evidence that they had a willful. You have no evidence, do you? The question is, do you have any evidence that they took a willful blind eye towards that fraud?
Yeah, I mean,
what's the evidence of that?
One example. We just used Keith Ellis as an example.
Wait. So your evidence. This is the standard of evidence, and and you have a consistent standard of evidence, don't you? I just want to make sure this is your standard.
You guys both of you just love talking over each other. You need to stop. Okay, so let one of each other.
I want to have a consistent standard of evidence.
We're gonna give it to Pisco. Go.
Because when we start talking about Trump, I don't want this to go into can you 1,000 trillion% prove this beyond any measure of doubt for some of these claims where they have not been investigations. Your standard for showing that Democrats had a blind eye towards fraud, in other words, were wanting it to happen, or at least were okay with it occurring, is the statement that you presented about Keith Ellison, where he's in a room with one of these people saying something about voters or something.
You're spending 10 minutes on something.
No, can you just answer if that's your standard for corruption?
This is a classic. This is a great Pisco maneuver. Spend 3 hours.
It's not a maneuver. It's asking what your standard of proof is. What is your standard of evidence?
I've got a dozen nice core arguments we could be looking at. Instead, we're masturbating over one very narrow example.
Hold on.
And you won't accept the reasonable presupposition.
Yep. Once Gibbs responds, okay, then we're going to move on, and you can give your next piece of argument.
I would say my standard is higher than Pisco's standard, because my standard right here is that I actually have evidence of people like Keith Ellison. We can talk about things. Tim Walz saying he's not going to run after all this fraud has come out. We can look to other examples where we see the examples in California where they were seeing it funded back in the Democratic Party. We're seeing all these examples.
That's corruption. Wait.
Hold on. My standard isn't alleged. His standard, if you remember, was anything alleged should be brought in.
Your example of corruption is Tim Walz stepping down?
I just let you finish. Well, okay, cool, because by your metric, all I have to do is I'm alleging that Tim Walz is stepping down because of
what is corruption? We have to start there. What do you think corruption is?
Hold on. So once again, I just want to say my standard right here is I at least have some.
You just said Tim Walz stepping down from the race is corruption.
You already admitted that some of these people that were committing fraud were funding money back into the Democratic Party. That is evidence of the system that I am talking about.
You just said that Tim Walz stepping down from the race was Democratic corruption. What is corruption? Tell me in your words what corruption is.
Yeah, but it's corruption because he's stepping down.
I'm asking what corruption is. What do you take corruption to be?
I don't know, by defrauding the government to fund campaigns.
So your definition of corruption is fraud.
Here. Okay, go for it. Let's hear Stream Riff's definition of corruption. What is your definition of corruption? That might be helpful. Go ahead.
A political class using the machinery of the party and the state to entrench itself against the demonstrated will of its own base. It's when one group, a political class, hijacks the government for other people to beat over everyone else under the head. The lightest form of it that you could argue for forever on is the Hunter Biden thing, which is a perfect example of it a bunch of different ways.
So let's talk about that.
Let's go bigger. Let's
just focus on the definition.
I'm going to make 2 more points or I'm never answering the fucking question you have. Point 1. There's a representation gap, and it's a big one. Democrat voters want voter ID. Democratic voters want men out of women's sports. Democrat voters want criminal aliens deported. And 70%, 80% of the time, they're consistent on this. And then what ends up happening? Our democratically elected representatives vote against their express will.
It's not a debate on trans. It's not a debate on illegal immigration. Let's talk. Let's deal with your definition.
Okay, hold on, all of you. We do have to address your definition of corruption.
So
whether Dev and Pisco agree with that definition.
It's preposterous, right? So I'm happy to I don't really love semantic debates about what definitions are, but just take a look at his definition as he provided. It was something about a political class entrenching itself in power above the wishes of the political the people. That is such an absurd definition of corruption for the following reason. It would mean that someone taking bribes just for their own personal ends, something that any sensible person in the United States would say is corruption, wouldn't be corruption on that view, because that's for a personal end. It's not to entrench oneself in power. So an example of, let's say if it were true that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden took bribes to change policies for their own personal ambition, but not to entrench themselves in powers, on that view, that would not be corruption. Absurd.
So let's make a broader, so that's one definition.
So you're changing your definition, right? Are you changing your definition or not?
So you've got two options.
Are you changing it or not?
One, you can use mine. Mine is a definition of a particular type of corruption. If you want to talk about other types of corruption that don't fit under that, it doesn't mean they're not corruption. You say you don't want to do semantic word games, and you're sitting here doing semantic word games. That's why I brought Gibbs.
I'm happy to use that one if you want. It just Trump's going to fail on that in epic ways compared to Democrats. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's a reason why you don't want to talk about immigration.
Hold on, we could just agree that while what Stream Riff said is a form of corruption, it is not the only form of corruption.
I agree with that. I'm happy to use. I'm happy to go forth with both, right? To have a broader view and a more narrow view. On the more narrow, if you want to start with the more narrow view of entrenching oneself in power, I mean, look no further than this second. We don't even need to talk about the first administration. We don't even need to talk about January 6th. And it is off the scales.
Legal aliens were voting in American elections that are not citizens.
Prove that. Prove that. Prove that.
Before we do any of that, I want to know if Dev agrees with this corruption thing. Dev is also here, and what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a great definition, but for the purposes of this conversation, we can use it. Sure.
Well, I would also. I also want to talk about the other notions. So I want to
Pisco.
I want to address both notions of corruption.
For real. I think that we can have multiple levels of corruption if we're taking this seriously. We're saying our government's corrupt. We shouldn't limit ourselves to one definition. We should catalog it all.
I agree. I'm fine doing it. I'm fine doing both notions of corruption. So we can. Do you want to start with entrenching power corruption versus non-entrenching power corruption?
Yeah. So I have.
Let's pick with entrenched power corruption. Go ahead.
Gibbs, let's Streamer.
Yeah, so I have literally ahead of this. I actually took some time to think through this because I figured I owe you guys the decency of having some structured argument. Also, you're clever. And so if I plan ahead, it gives me a little bit over edge over how much you do internet verbal judo. So I had to cheat that way by becoming prepared. I came.
Preparing for a debate is not, just want to say, because I don't know, listen, I think it's fine that you prepared. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know why this norm is like, don't prepare. I know Rob Noor does this a lot, like, I don't prepare. That's like not good.
How many more times do you have to say Rob Noor? As I was saying.
I'm just saying, like, it's like, you don't have to be like embarrassed about that.
A definition, thank you. A definition of corruption, I think is very reasonable, is to say if the politicians are fucking the people. But more specific, I gave the one that I gave because I think the DNC has literally become a machinery to enable all sorts of things that no one administration, no matter how many babies they ate, no matter of the Highlanders they took out, could never be powerful enough to do the amount of damage the DNC has done over the last 4 years.
That notion, notion, we're going to have a problem with that because if what you take to be corruption is fucking over the people, then that's just a debate about policy. That includes policy, right? That would just be like, it's corrupt. So
here's 3 examples.
Wait. I want to be clear about that, right? If your definition of corruption is when the government fucks over the people, then that's just a broad policy debate about who you prefer.
Jackassery.
That's what you just said.
If I'm talking to a normal human being, what we do is we'll use phrases like that to explain a concept and not bust each other's balls over the different ways that can mean. So that's a very meta thing here. We can do meta. That's fine. I gave you a detailed one that was organized. Paraphrase it because sometimes it's easier to go along with that, but that's fine.
So this is what I understood from your paraphrase one. I just want to make sure we understand each other. So on your notion of corruption, I understood that to be official action taken for an entrenching purpose, and I agree. An entrenching purpose is one corrupt purpose, and so that's how I understood what you were saying. And that is a notion of corruption that, as far in my view, far too narrow. But it is a form of corruption. But if you say it's fucking over the people, that's too broad.
Neat. So there's 2 pieces where the DNC completely fucks over their voting base. Point 1, as I was going over before, there's 3 solid examples I gave you where Congress voted explicitly. The Democrat representatives in Congress voted against the will of their own voters in unambiguous terms. That's not what they were elected to. They're elected as representatives, not leaders. The second is when we look at, so that's the legislator. When we look at the executive
branch, we deal with that first.
In 2016, we had the DNC tip the scales and pump Bernie off. So the Bernie bros are upset about this. They saw corruption on their own party side. And the Dems, this is my clincher. We didn't even primary Kamala, and she did so bad in her prior primaries, she dropped out, I think, before we even got to any major states. I think after just a couple of states voted, she dropped out. This is not a party that gives a fuck about its voters.
So it's atypical. It could be true that Democrats don't care about their voters and that they're not more corrupt than Trump. It could be true that they don't care about their voters and they're not corrupt at all. Nothing about what you said addresses corruption unless your definition of corruption is just like are they doing right by their voters? But that's just not the definition of corruption that I think any person. I think your more narrow version of corruption, that at least is some notion of corruption. But this about like the DNC and what happened with the primaries, that's just so afield.
Representation for California. So they have a bunch of illegal immigrants, so they get higher census numbers, so they get more congressional seats. And they literally go against the entire fucking principle laid out by the founding fathers, clearly in the Federalist Papers and in our fucking founding documents, where we say we do not want big states, at the time New York, to beat up little states.
So wait, are you taking the position? So I'll deal with that hypothetical because I'm not scared. Your hypothetical is essentially if it were the case. If it were the why don't we just? It feels like you guys are afraid whenever we interrogate one of your points. You want to move off of it. I want to deal with what you just said. Is that okay?
No, you have like 90% audio time problem.
Well, you just said something.
And not actually engage with some
okay. If you're conceding that what you said is stupid,
I'm gonna have to step in. So the claim that you're making, Stream Rift, is that the example you're giving is that a lot of illegal immigrants are being pumped into California to overinflate the numbers and keep Democrats in power when the people would otherwise oust them from power. Is that an accurate representation of your claim? No? Then rephrase it for me, please.
So the part of the reason that the U.S. Census happened is for congressional seat representation. And so if I have 100 million illegal immigrants, the census doesn't dispute this one way or the other. If it's a human in that state, they get Congress seats based off that. So California has, I believe, 2, possibly 3 additional seats they would not have if the census was only counting American citizens. It's not about hating immigrants. It's not about not wanting them here. It's about literally undoing the foundation of a country. 250 years is not a small thing. And a part of that is because we don't let big states beat up little states.
Yes.
So
now
they have
to hold on. Streamer. They have to address the claim that you just made. And I'm going to give it to Dev and then Pisco to do so in that order.
Yeah, just real quick,
because
I've heard this argument.
You'll be able to rebut. Okay.
I've had it several times. I've run the math on this, and I think California gets 1 more seat that they shouldn't have, but so does Texas. So this is not really a big argument, in my opinion.
Putting that aside,
over one state, that should put the other. But I want to go to Dev's number.
That's even assuming. That's even assuming.
I want to invite him in on this one, if that's all right, Pisco.
Hang on a second. I want to address what you said more broadly about immigration. So would you say that, let's say that Congress makes a decision that we want to encourage immigration and they basically remove most categories of removal or non-status except for criminal bases. Would you say that that's corrupt because of what your policy is on immigration and you're changing the fabric of the country, yes or no? Would that be corrupt on your view?
So, Dev, you said
Can you answer that,
$4 billion of corruption is what you've attributed directly to Trump or admin. If I double it, my number is between 10 and 11 trillion that goes to NGOs that the DNC helps fund.
Okay.
From
$10 trillion
congressional spending
to NGOs.
So you said there's 2 extra seats. So you end up saying California does have outsized representation. And it's because of, I think we'd all agree that the DNC has been.
You think a third of our national.
So real quick. Like I actually do agree that I think it's kind of ridiculous America allows illegal immigrants to be captured on the census and then that allows certain states to get more seats. I agree with that. But I've seen people say like that means that California has like 20 extra seats, which it doesn't.
But it's not corruption, even if you disagree with it. That's not corruption. That's what. So if
it is, and also it's not corruption.
Hang on a second. So let's
it's bad, but it's not corruption.
Let me address what you just said. So I asked you a question, which is if Democrats with their majorities got into power and said we're now encouraging immigration. We want to encourage immigration. We want to lower, basically make it so it's largely open borders. You have to go through a process, but we're going to just keep the criminal basis of removal, but everything else we're going to go get rid of it. Would you say that's corrupt?
Yeah. I'm sorry. You talk. I'm going
to. Okay, he's asking if the DNC is encouraging immigration, is that in and of itself corrupt?
Well, it depends on kind.
No, I'm going to say no.
No. Okay, and the reason that's a good answer because the Declaration of Independence that we just celebrated, the 250th year, one of the first charges by the founding generation is the following quote: He has endeavored, that is the king, to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. So what does that say? There is a textually committed basis in the Declaration of Independence that the encouragement of migration and immigration and getting rid of barriers to immigration is consistent with our national credo. And so there's nothing about that that's inherently corrupt.
Hold on,
Okay,
Pisco.
Gibbs, respond, please.
This is the problem with that. One, what that's talking about is legal immigration, right? And even then, at that level, I'll argue once again that there's also problems when you do stuff like many counties, and I can like start listing all the counties if you want me to. This is from Ballotpedia, but we got Oakland, San Francisco, both allow legal non-citizens to vote. I would argue even legal non-citizens voting is corruption. But
wait, why is it corrupt? Wait, stop right there. Why is it corrupt?
Gibbs, you got to stop doing this.
Why is it corrupt?
They want to talk about your complaint.
I'm trying to talk about
you do.
Complaint.
Hold on, stop, Gibbs. What you do, and this is Pisco needs to stop interrupting too. To be clear.
Yeah, but I can't even make my claim because I have one part of my claim.
You're interrupting me. Why are you interrupting me?
Well, because I have a claim that I want to finish.
Statement, and that's something that we want to talk about. But
sure, I know.
Keep going, and you make like 3 or 4 statements.
No, well, here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Stick on one.
I will do that. Hold on, here's the problem. Is I wait, and then when I try to lay out a case after we listen to Pisco for 30 minutes, lay out a case.
Interrupting you.
Sure. All right, that's fine. I have a point here. I would argue legal immigration is good, right? But legal citizens voting, it goes against constitution. I would argue that's corruption. Now there is a important part of this.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me finish. There's a second part of this that's important, and I can't even move on to this until I get the second part out. The more important part is when y'all sit here, even if I grant that is not fraud, there's still examples like the Iowa superintendent. I would say low-level person at a low-level position that you are voting in. And the argument that I'm about to make is that whenever we have examples of people that were here illegally, we have people in the House that one of the ladies was here illegally, getting government positions at low and mid-level positions, that is actually more dangerous and more indicative of what Stream Rift is talking about, where we have the government going, oh, okay, we're entrenching these people, the Dems are entrenching them within the government, and it's a system and a machine, as opposed to what Stream has laid out with, it's Donald Trump is one man and a smaller administration. There's a 50-year machine. It's not a filibuster. Listen, it's only a filibuster if I'm not making cogent points.
I am making the other side a chance to respond to the 2 points you just made.
You were asked the following question.
I do have a response, Gibbs, but it's not quite to what you said, but it's on a previous thing that you mentioned. I do want to respond to something though. Okay, so let's go down a bit of a rabbit hole together. Okay, so I'll bring this back up. And we talked about this earlier, and you mentioned Keith Ellison in relation to this, and I couldn't find Keith Ellison in here, but I decided to go and look up. I decided to go and look up what you're talking about, right? So I found this. This was published, and this is the cost of doing nothing: how Tim Walz and Keith Ellison fueled Minnesota's fraud explosion, which is a crazy report that was just released by the Republicans.
That's not what I'm quoting, but that's a good one too, I guess.
But yeah. Well, I wanted to find the source of the claim that you're talking about, and maybe you didn't get it from here, but I went down the rabbit hole. Okay, I went down the rabbit hole live while you guys were talking, so I discovered that the claim is that Governor Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison limited or stopped investigations into the fraud, and that's sourced here from 78. 78 says, see letter from the chairman of House Commission,
Comer.
House Committee on Oversight. Yep, Comer. So I decided to go find that letter. I found the letter. Here it is. And he says the same thing, that evidence is being destroyed and that it's not, these two people have decided to use their powers to stop this investigation. And I was like, well, where the fuck does that come from? And then the source in this letter is the website AmericanExperiment.org and the article Feeding Our Future, Keith Ellison Caught on Tape. So I found that article, and here it is. Feeding Our Future, Keith Ellison Caught on Tape. And this looks like a right-wing kind of sloppulist
a quick question for you here, though.
Let him finish.
That's $250 million of fraud.
Why do you into it? Okay, so I decided
you gotta let him finish.
I'm looking through it.
I promise.
They're making claims here. There's a few quotes in here. There's some videos of Keith Ellison caught on tape. But the one that they're sourcing is this one. Is when Ellison says, "This is the first I'm really hearing about it. This has not come to my attention until now." And these two statements are in contradiction in contradiction to his previous statement that he had been deeply involved for 2 years in holding Feeding Our Future accountable. So you can actually criticize Keith Ellison. So where he said, hey, your office said you were involved in holding these people accountable, and then 2 years later you said you hadn't heard about it. You can properly criticize him for that. But this in itself is not evidence that he tried to stop the investigation.
Just
Not at all.
Yeah. Dev, so are you arguing that he's just inept?
He could be, yeah.
That the Attorney
I don't know.
General,
Just- okay.
that the Attorney
I'll
General,
grant it. You know what? Sure, the Attorney General,
that the
and
Attorney
the
General
Democrats in
Minnesota.
general are inept. I agree. Thank you.
So understand what you're. So this conversation is not about alleged ineptitude, and if you want to say ineptitude that having corruption occur under your watch constitutes itself corruption, then we again have a big problem with the Trump comparison, which is what this debate is about. And since you guys don't want to go deep into your actual definition of corruption as it relates to immigration, I tried to engage you on that. You don't want to do it because you know you're going to be cooked. Let's just start talking about the
Brought in
open
my
and notorious.
Hold on.
What you
Yeah,
said?
yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
so
I
you
don't
just
know.
you made a
They
claim.
were not
Hold on. You guys made a bunch of claims. You got to let him respond. Dev went through one. Pisco gets to go through one, and then we can go.
On the immigration stuff, basically what was said by Gibbs is that he doesn't agree that legal permanent residents should be able to vote in any context. But that doesn't show corruption. How does that show corruption?
What does the Constitution say about legal citizens?
Yeah, the Constitution doesn't say that one needs to be a citizen to vote. Show me where it does.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't imply that. It
doesn't
no
state
laws
that.
regarding citizens voting.
There's a U.S. law on the books that says that U.S. citizens, in order to vote in federal elections, you need to be a U.S. citizen. But the Constitution doesn't address municipal elections and who has a right to vote in those. And states have, for many years, allowed legal. So my question is, but even if that's wrong, why is that corruption? Let's say that it's wrong as a matter of law. Are you saying that?
Yeah,
is that
you
corruption
gotta let
in your
them
view?
answer that question, though, right? You just asked them, why is it corruption, right, or wrong for non-citizens to be allowed to vote in local elections? Is that a correct?
Why is it corruption is the question. Whether you agree with it or not, why is it corruption?
Okay, I'm going to give it to Rift and to Gibbs to answer that question. Rift, why is that corruption?
I mean, on the very narrow framing you're putting it, that itself isn't. In fact, it's supported by the entire concept of federalism and the 10th Amendment.
Beautiful.
If individual states want to do that,
So let's
that's
move
fine.
on.
When fuckstick states, you dumb cunt, when fuckstick states like California turn it into we're going to give everybody with a driver's license a voter ID card, and internally they make it very easy for their citizens and non-citizens to be able to get into the federal ballot box, it is fraud. Now we can argue omission, commission, intentional,
hang on a
otherwise.
second.
However, it is literally fraudulent when you are creating a system that allows people to circumvent election law.
Hang on a second.
Go ahead.
So you understand conspiracy and fraud to be equal to having in your mind insecure election systems. That is the meaning of conspiracy and fraud. Yes or no?
That's not what I said. You're making shit up.
Hang on a second. So is it your position or not that having insecure, what you deem to be insecure election systems, is that fraud and in your words conspiracy or not?
I said what I said.
I'm asking you directly.
Rephrase
Is that what
it
you?
for the audience, please?
You're asking me a question in a reframed light to pull out a binary that isn't something I don't hold either position.
I'm repeating back what
it's
you
one
just
of the
said.
shittiest things that you do in conversations. I'll repeat what I said then. I'll repeat what I said.
Repeat what you said, please.
What I said was when shit-skin states like California allow for their driver's license process to basically hand out voter registration and make it very easy for non-citizens to get access to federal ballot box, that becomes fraud.
Is that an ad hoc rule or is there a principle behind it? So is that an ad hoc rule? It's only when California does it or a shit stink state does it? What's the I'm trying to extract the principle from your rule there, and that's why I asked you the question. Are you saying that abiding by what you deem to be an insufficiently safe and secure election system, is that in and of itself fraud or conspiracy? That's what I'm trying to draw. I'm assuming that you're not having an arbitrary or ad hoc rule. So the question, so if it's
whenever you're ready.
Okay, so if it's so since what you said is there's an intentionality to get illegal immigrant voters, what's the evidence for that?
Well, that's easy.
Them funneling fucking money to non-citizens in California to get them to show up. When you create the fucking financial incentive, when you create sanctuary
to show up for what?
Are fundamentally DNC policy. To show
yeah, that is a fundamental
so what's the evidence that the DNC is trying to get illegal immigrants out to vote? That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, listen, there's Skid Row. I mean, hold on. Let's just take this.
You
as
have
an
nothing.
example. I mean,
Just like your
Okay,
example
no,
with
no,
Keith
hold on,
Ellison.
I do want
nothing.
you guys, Gibbs, and I'm going to give it
Yeah,
to
there
you,
are
Gibbs.
examples. Sure.
He
there are
asked,
lots of-
what is the evidence that the DNC or the Democratic Party or Democrats in general are funneling money to get non-citizens to
vote.
the ballot box?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue. I mean, I think Streamlabs started done a fantastic job setting this up. It's really the incentives, right? If I set up a system, say, hey, come here, you're not going to be prosecuted if you come here illegally. Then I say, hey, we'll even give you a state ID, which makes you like a quasi.
Where's the evidence of intentionality?
You can't be full. Hold on, okay, listen. It's called deductive reasoning. I know that's something you should have as a lawyer. So let's just use that real quick. If I'm sitting here, I'm going to use this. I think this is best shown by example. I own a ranch in a small town outside San Antonio, right? I actually live in San Antonio, but I have a ranch outside, right? And so I could run there. I have a homestead there. If I wanted to claim that as my primary residence, all right. Now, I have family and friends there. Hold on. Listen, I listened to you the whole time. It was very polite.
Yeah, but I'm not telling you my fucking life story,
hold on.
dude.
No, there's an example here, right? And this is going to prove from a Republican side, this would also be fraud. If, I win an election or I win to get somebody in there. And what I do is go, okay, I'm now allowing, since I only have a 51% majority, legal citizens to vote. We'll get enough people to allow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get as many legal immigrants from Mexico, and I'm going to put them on my ranch, and I'm going to start saying, okay, boys, you've been here just enough now time. You're going to come vote, and I'm never going to get unelected ever again. Because anytime that the margins disappear, and that's fraud. That's depriving the American
so what
public
is the
of being
evidence?
able to fucking get
So
their
the
voice
question
heard.
is,
What
the
evidence
question
did
wasn't
you see
answered. So the
over
question,
and over
so the question wasn't
I mean,
answered. So the question wasn't answered. So the
This
question will be,
example that's
the question,
happening
the question,
over and over again. It's
the
not
question
California.
wasn't answered. So the question will be repeated. And the question is as follows: what is the evidence that you have?
Do sanctuary cities invite
Sanctuaries,
people
sanctuary cities are sanctuary
to come
cities.
to America legal? The answer is yes. We know that
So
definitively.
sanctuary cities have nothing to do with what you're talking about. Sanctuary
is
cities,
Alex Pretty dead?
sanctuary cities,
Alex Pretty. Why is he dead again?
sanctuary cities,
Because it wasn't a sanctuary city?
So sanctuary cities. So the death of Alex Pretty isn't what this is about. This is about corruption.
You talked about it in your fucking 10-minute
So you don't
opening.
understand because you're low IQ. So the reason I brought up Alex Pretty and Renee Good. So the reason I brought up Alex Pretty, the reason I brought up the reason I brought up Alex Pretty.
Yeah, help him out, Whick, save him.
I'm not saying I'm allowing him to finish his statement.
Oh,
Everyone
I'm
gets to
gonna
finish
finish
their statements here. I'm trying, to get you guys to finish your statements. Pisco, finish your
Yes.
thought. Be brief. Then we got to move on.
The reason I brought up Alex Pretty and Renee Good in the context of a corruption debate, not an immigration debate, not a trans debate, not whatever, voting system security debate you want to have. The reason I brought up Alex Pretty and Renee Good, it relates to Trump's interference in the Department of Justice in preventing the Department of Justice from working alongside the state investigators in that case. Unlike what is typically done in these kinds of shooting is to work together. That's what was done also in the Charlie Kirk shooting. That's what I'm calling corruption as part of a track record, of the administration that has so far been completely unrebutted of political interference in the Department of Justice. I've laid out case after case after case. You have nothing to say in support of those decisions and the rampant corruption that we're seeing and is acknowledged by your own fucking propagandists like Megyn Kelly, etc.
Okay.
The whole fucking reason why Alex Pretty and Renee Good got shot was because state authorities stopped working with ICE. So for you to say that feds should then comply with the investigation, the blah, 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 is kind of fucking weird because if the states were being cuddly with ICE, Renee Good and Alex Pretty would
you
still
just
be
fucked
alive.
yourself, right? You know what you just said? You just fucked yourself, right? You just said that because the state, in your mind, you don't agree with their sort of policy on immigration and collaboration with the federal government.
I didn't say whether
when
I
there's
agreed
an
or didn't agree with
officer,
it. I'm just
when
saying
there's an
an
officer
inconsistency.
involved shooting of a federal agent, that they should scuttle the investigation and refuse to collaborate with the state where one of their citizens just died. You really believe that when Trump was allegedly elected president under this government, that he didn't have a duty and obligation to have genuine investigations into members of his own electorate, into people that he swore an oath to protect, and that because a state government disagrees with his that it's somehow justified or not corrupt to politically involve oneself? How dare you say that? That's fucked up.
The Biden administration literally sued the state of Texas while it was trying to do the federal duty of protecting the fucking border. The executive administration Biden admin didn't even fucking it wasn't bad enough they weren't doing literally the whole fucking
None of that
point
is corruption.
Uniting as states is partially to help protect
So first of all, I supported Biden.
When the
Biden was based in that lawsuit.
Then when the executive branch takes government resources to prevent a state from being able to fulfill the obligation the executive branch itself is failing at doing is insane.
So Biden was based in that lawsuit. It's not corruption, even if you disagree with him. I supported the administration in that lawsuit, and Biden won. And Biden was being successful in that lawsuit. None of that is corruption. What we're acknowledging from the Trump administration is a rampant, unrebutted history and track record of political interference in the Department of Justice. And you guys have nothing to say in the defense of the administration, which was partly bandying about this notion of weaponization. You have nothing to say about the anti-weaponization fund, the slush fund. You have nothing to say about the political process. All right, so then defend the administration on so everything that you brought up are policy arguments regarding immigration. What you said about Keith Ellison, totally nothing to do with corruption. The fraud examples instantly debunked. The Keith Ellison connection instantly debunked by Dev. Instantly debunked. And so now the question is before you: defend the corruption of the Trump administration involvement in the DOJ. Defend it.
So since you're slow, I'll go ahead and we'll walk through this. Voter ID, men and women's sports, and deporting criminal aliens is exactly what Democrat voters want, and their representatives don't do it. So when consistently voters are voting with their dollars at the taxes and they're in the ballot saying, here's the money,
That's not corruption, even if it were true. That's not corruption, even if it were true. That's not corruption, even if it were true.
Literally act against explicitly what they're.
So Trump is corrupt because he said no new wars, right? Did Trump say no new wars, and so he's corrupt on your view?
So
yes or no?
You're making a category
Answer the question. Answer
error.
the fucking question. Oh yeah, the category error relates to Trump.
The entire group, right? No.
Okay. Well, here.
Yeah. So Trump never corrupt.
Let's give it to Dev. Give it to Dev,
cut through it real quick.
I'm going to read some super chats after Dev goes because I need to make a little money. Dev, go ahead.
So just real quick, do you two agree that the Trump crypto rug pull stuff, that was corruption? Like, yes, obviously it was.
Not necessarily. I can grant it for this argument and still dumpster it, but yeah.
Okay. Wait. Why not dumpster it? That's one of our main contentions too. Is corruption related to foreign payments?
Because you guys want to masturbate over a number, and I think that the entire institution. Well, you're sitting here on YouTube and Twitch screaming and crying like schoolgirls about Trump and whatever else. The conservatives have been furious at our federal government for a long time and ready to take action.
That's tangential. That's
so
questions about. It's tangential. No, and first of all, no, you cheer on the corruption. It's tangential. You cheered on.
Okay, well, hold on. Stream Rift. If you don't think it's corruption, why? Explain.
So I came here to this debate to take a shot at the DNC against Trump. The premise that Trump could even possibly, even if he had, let's say he did your number, $3 billion. In fact, let's say he did 10 billion in corruption. It pales in comparison against what the DNC has done for the last 4 decades in this country. So if the debate prompt is still the Democrats are more corrupt than Trump, I'm saying I'm going to give a free pass to all of the rank and file Democrats. I'm not going to besmirch their good name in this, the fucking DNC. And against Trump, it doesn't even come close.
So you acknowledge it's corrupt. Trump is corrupt. You acknowledge Trump is corrupt.
10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. Just 10 more seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
The whole point is, fuck this fighting DNC versus Trump bullshit. If we don't like our government, less than 10% of us
vote here to debate that.
Actually fucking do something.
I want to cover the crypto thing.
Okay, before anyone else goes.
Super chats.
Yes, I do have to make a little money.
Well, I didn't get an answer to my question. I wanted to hear how you don't think that the crypto stuff is corruption. Like, give me your logic how it's not corruption.
That's fair enough. I will suspend super chats until that answer. Well,
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how.
All the time.
I'll tell you how. And I think it's real simple. One, but like, I don't think it's corruption. One, because first of all, if we're talking about corruption, there's, I guess, 2 types that I really would like to focus on. There's governmental, and then there's personal, right? And yeah, let's just, if I were to grant that the Trump coin thing was corruption, which I don't. I'm thinking he really wanted to do it. We've seen crypto be a key piece of his legislature. He's been working on having a sort of thing where he has all sorts of different crypto as backing. I honestly think that he was hoping, excuse me, it would be a successful coin. Now, if it's not corruption if you put forth something personally that you hope and your people hope will be successful. Now, I don't think it was a rug.
Yeah, he's just going to give away the $2 billion that he earned there. Are you shitting me?
However,
hold on. But even if you grant it as corruption, that's still a personal form. And what I think me and Streamlift are really pushing is that basically we're really worried about the governmental, institutional corruption that is occurring at every level within the Democratic Party.
We have to narrow in on this.
Are you okay with the personal form then?
After super chats, Dev, I'll answer any question you want.
Ask your question, Dev.
Yeah, Yeah, are you okay with the personal form of corruption then?
Well, not really, but if it's not coming out of my tax dollars, then it's not.
Wait,
really
it absolutely is. Wait, it
It's different when the
there's no
weight
such
of the
thing as a
state
free
of
lunch. Wait, are
It's-
you?
it's
No,
not-
but
yeah,
the
I
weight
would-
of the state is backed
Yeah.
by it. Men with
Yeah.
guns can
No,
come and
it
enforce
is-
it.
no,
It's
very
one thing if
different.
It's one thing if I'm a dumbass and I fucking get like scammed by I don't know the Nigerian prince, right? Or if I'm a dumbass and someone scams me and or my grandma out of like her life savings because she thought she was talking to I don't know Heath Ledger back.
This
from
is
the dead. I don't know,
exactly
right?
like that. Can I
that's
explain
one,
why?
That's one thing. That's one thing. It's different when the government is forcing me to do it at an institutional level.
No,
to pay
you
for
are
this
paying
fraud.
for it. Corruption. This is why I think people like Asaf are so based on it. Corruption is something that you have to pay for. Trump is using leverage that belongs in trust to the American people and is using it to pad his bank account, right? And so you just gave an account for these crypto deals. Like, what public interest
Isn't it trust
is
in his bank
served?
account?
What public interest is served by him making out like a bandit with a deal with the United Arab Emirates? What public interest is served
He didn't have
with
to pay
him?
for the
With
plane.
him,
That was pretty nice.
that's different. That's Qatar, different countries. United Arab
That's
Emirates,
right,
Qatar. Okay, so the first one I said was United Arab Emirates.
Sure.
What public interest is served by him? Okay, let's say we need a new Air Force One. We need to be upgraded. What public interest is served by doing that, spending all that money to upgrade it, and then get that quote unquote gift from Qatar, and then letting it be used for his personal usage in the presidential library? There's no public interest there. It's just to his own benefit, and it costs you money.
Hold on,
Respond and then super
yeah.
chats.
Yeah,
one
sorry,
response, one
we'll
super.
respond.
Like, go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
that's dumb. The president, even on any personal duty, if they want to go see their alma mater has a alumni meeting, he has to take Air Force One or Marine One or be like otherwise transported. This is like something they talk about with Air Force One being replaced all the time. So that gift actually saved us money in the long run because we didn't have to get the plane.
Okay.
I'll let you do the super chat, but that's so naive.
Yeah, let's
It's
get
crazy.
to some of this money. Speaking of corruption money, super chats are not corrupt. They are free range, okay, homegrown, and there is no corruption in super chats. Lawson Harrison for $5 says, "Durr, what about Hillary's emails, Durr?" Grassroots Hegemon for $5. If you say Curtis Yarvin 3 times in the mirror, Dev will appear. I don't know if that's true. $10 from Tristan Thomas. Dinner's going to be great. Pisco is cooking. Thank you for that $10. $20 from Susie Mags because I was late. Well, thank you for the $20. $20 more from Susie Mags because I was late again. Did you mean to see that twice? Thank you for the additional 20. 10 pounds from 4NEU. If we're going to start using alleged, then allegations have been made that Trump killed one of his underage rape victims' babies. If you want to start using alleged, then you are fucked.
Yeah. So when I mentioned
That was
alleged,
Pisco's opening.
No.
That was the scam.
When I said as alleged,
In your fucking opening,
when
you
I
said
I know
alleged.
what I said. I
You
listen.
opened it.
I know exactly, and I don't step away from it in the slightest. So first of all,
Alex Jones alleged that they're vampires.
So
Do
to
you agree that they're all
respond
vampires?
to respond to what you're saying,
Yes or no?
and this kind of absurd
Yeah,
take
answer the
on
question.
alleged, which means like I guess right now if I say Trump destroyed an entire galaxy that we don't know about, I guess Trump is worse, right? Like that's not what I was talking about.
So
When
powerful.
I said as alleged, I mean the House of Representatives under the control of the Republicans making formal allegations in their impeachment inquiry and in the report that they released. Those are the allegations that I'm saying are pertinent, not just anything a crazy person fucking says. But you guys want to play these word games and act like there's anything inconsistent. And if we're going to play that,
do is word games.
no,
We're the
no,
okay,
come on.
we're-
Okay,
for
great.
word
It was
games.
$10. It was $10. Let's not give him a $50.
10 pounds
Okay.
even.
$20 from Anana's Spy. Pisco, please run down the differences between financial disclosures between MAGA SCOTUS justices and the liberal ones. Thomas,
Yeah.
Elise, Allison, and I'm assuming he means Alito's. Thomas, Alito's, and Robert's corruption should be on the table too.
Yeah, so
don't be brief with this. Pisco.
Yeah, I'm actually
Sorry.
not super convinced that I've seen at least sufficient evidence by my mind to show that there's been corruption in terms of what Thomas received, Alito and others. And so, yes, the lack of disclosure is very troubling, and they do preside over some cases involving some of these repeat litigators. But I haven't been seen enough to demonstrate that that's like why they took any particular official action or to lead to an inference in that direction. That said, I haven't looked that hard into that. I've been focused more on Trump. And so I'm open to further investigations. One of the actual worst parts about the Trump administration is that we're not getting investigations into the corruption that's going on, when we did have that in the first Trump term, at least with the Mueller investigation, and then obviously with Hillary Clinton and Obama, there were internal investigations. He's fired all the IGs, and so we're not even getting that. And so we should get that for the justices, and we should get that for the current administration.
Sure. $5 from Firearms and Fitness. Just got here, but you're either the dumbest person on earth or a liar if you think Trump isn't the most corrupt president we have ever had.
Well, Ulysses S. Grant's the most corrupt ever, but that's
No, not even close. I mean, Ulysses S. Grant, even as okay, I'll stop saying even as alleged, but yeah, he had corrupt people in his administration. It's not even close to this shit. This shit is comical. Even your own side, even people who support, even Ben Shapiro acknowledges this shit. Even you guys aren't really
Ben Shapiro's an Israeli dude.
He's also an American, but even putting that aside, Nick Fuentes says this is the most corrupt. If you're picking the
Democrat,
okay, put it aside. Then Ann Coulter, she's not a Democrat.
Better source.
Okay, Fuentes. So I watch America First. Fuentes says he wants to see Democrats take in power and to do these investigations because they'll make him hurt because his administration has been historically corrupt. That's Fuentes.
Yeah,
Ann Coulter,
also allegedly funded by the SPLC. But yeah.
Ann Coulter said that this is the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States. She's not a Democrat. Megyn Kelly said the same thing. I mean, it's comically corrupt.
Well, the SPLC funded the guy who the organizer, the right rally, the one we heard, the very fine people like.
It's so hilarious.
Just a Democrat organization.
We got it. So
I can address that indictment.
There'll be more super chats that you guys can yap on. I promise. $5 from Pondering Politics. Gibbs said he didn't want to cite alleged fraud, but is now citing alleged fraud. Charges are not convictions.
Also true. On the question of the SPLC, that one is even as alleged there, right? I'll say it again. There, it's that they were paying people to be like insider informants. And that is not. And by the way, that's the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's not the.
And they also funded. They also funded recruitment. That's also alleged.
Even if they did a crime,
the robes, funding the materials to burn.
I believe that,
and they funded the guy $275,000.
So I'll be honest with you. So I believe. Let me finish.
While one of the funders and organizers was fucking a leader.
So remember, it's a $5 super chat.
Wait. But I just want to finish the sentence. So I think the SPLC indictment is evidence of further corruption of the Trump administration. But even if you believe that this indictment was based and all that stuff, all it would show is that a private organization did a private crime. That's not corruption. Criminality by itself is not corruption.
It's a private organization that labeled every conservative commentator a person in a hate group. They're also the one, by the way, if you voted for or talked about Plantner, they're also the ones that said, and this is when Dems go, oh, he didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo.
So Trump was convicted of fraud, so he's corrupt?
Hold on. They're the ones who said that the U.S. military is a bed for white supremacy.
So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right? So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right? So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt. So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right?
Or it seems like you like Nazis. I don't know.
So Trump was convicted of business record.
He froze.
I'm here. Testing.
Hello, Pisco.
I'm here. Hello.
His internet. The Mossad
guy.
Yeah, welcome back.
You cut out.
Okay. Am I better now? I dropped some frames.
You are better now. Okay, $5 from Pondering Politics. Also, for your info, Trump has pardoned fraudsters, some healthcare, and wiped out at least $2 billion in victim compensation.
100% true. 100% true. And we have evidence that they're talking about healthcare fraud. They're literally getting lobbyists in bed with Laura Loomer. I don't know if that's figurative or literal, but I assume figurative and metaphorical, to get these fraudsters, these convicted fraudsters. And if you're a groyper, you should pay special attention to them because they're all part of like pro-Israel people. I'm not alleging that, but I'm just saying, if you're a groyper, you should pay extra consideration to this. Trump did that and wiped out all sorts, millions of dollars of compensation to like employing like nurses and to these old care facilities. And so you don't give a fuck about that corruption. You don't give a fuck about that fraud. You're just lying.
Making shit talking out of your ass because it's easier for you to just spew out.
Wait, what about what I just said is untrue? What about what I just said is untrue? Name one thing I said that's untrue.
Why do you say that we always impose a burden on the other side?
Let Rift go. Rift, repeat yourself.
Like Pisco. So you sit here, you say a bunch of shit, then you sneak in your version of the facts, then you make some arguments and do a monologue where you've got a nice little short story where no sensible
what did I say
person
that was
can engage
wrong?
with a single fucking thing you said.
Can you identify a statement that I said that was
false? One very
false?
clean thing. Give you one very clean one, and you're never going to stop interrupting, and I get that. But I do think maybe you could get better. So one example is I care about all of the fraud and all of the corruption. It's not there's not a lack of consistency on that. My entire premise. So you ranted for 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever your opening was. And I had a concise claim. And I essentially said, even if everything you guys want to say tonight about Trump and his entire administration is true, it pales in comparison to 4 decades of machinery. And you never engage with that because you can't. That's a much bigger
I'm
claim
happy to do it.
Against.
No, we did it, and you guys got
then why
absolutely.
Did you do it
so
for
I'm
the last hour?
so I'm happy. We started on Democrats. We started on Democrat corruption, and you said, well, this Democrat machine. The essence of what you were saying was that this Democrat machine is ignoring the will of their voters when it comes to voter ID, when it comes to immigration, and all these issues.
One of my several pillars.
Yeah, that pillar is just nonsense. It has nothing to do with corruption. It could be the case that the Democrats are ignoring the will of the voters and it not be corruption. There's nothing inconsistent about those things. And what I showed you that crush. Yeah. So here's an example.
How can it be consistent
because
that they will not act
because
in the interest of their voters and they're not corrupt?
Not following the interests of your voters is not the definition. Is analytically
not representing.
Yeah. So analytically
presenting them,
analytically
not owning them.
Analytically, the definition of corruption just is not listening to your voters. If that were the case,
city corruption.
Let him
so
finish
you accuse me of trying to dodge
briefly, and
your
then I have
main
more
argument.
Super chats. I don't know why
You're trying to say this pales in comparison to the decades of the DNC bullshit. First of all, you're just misattributing who's responsible. The DNC isn't like controlling all of these politicians. The politicians themselves are the ones making these kinds of decisions. The DNC has less power than that to just control all the politicians in the world. They don't do that.
That's a bullshit claim. Of course, they all vote together. Republicans break rank
they
far more
vote
often.
together.
More
Yes, I'm not saying they don't organize. The DNC isn't the organizing body there.
Okay.
So maybe you're using DNC.
We got to move on.
We have to move on to what? To super chats?
Super chats.
Yes.
Okay.
I got to make more money. Okay. $5. Look, the next super chat is going to be about the same topic, and you guys can continue. I promise. Okay. $5 from Stormwolf. Why do red states have higher welfare and fraud than blue states? $5 from Annan's One Spy. Texas, Ken Paxton rings a bell. Gizmo Snoopy for $5. Are Whick panels 3 strikes and you're out? After the US aid and this debate, only one more Gibbs nightmare before we get better and more honest guests? That's not how that works. And then $10 from Pondering Politics. MAGA Republican Senator Rick Scott resigned as Columbia HCA CEO after the company pled guilty to the biggest healthcare fraud in U.S. history, $1.7 billion. Okay, now you guys can talk.
Yeah, so the claim was that
that's actually a great example. That's actually a great example, Pondering. And the wonderful thing about that is that shows it was a personal person doing it, and then he was doing this and using his power as a Republican to get in there on these boards. And then guess what? When it was corruption, he got fired and he was out. That's much different than what Streamlift and I are alleging. And this is why we keep bringing up saying sanctuary cities and whatnot. Sanctuary cities are predominantly, even when they're in Republican-held states, or in predominantly held Democrat districts like 90% of the time, 95% of the time. We want to look over the map. Y'all can check that and really argue about the percentage ratio. But I think we can all agree sanctuary cities are predominantly in Democrat-held areas. And when we look at this is the exact kind of corruption we're talking about. You bring in illegals, you incentivize them to come, you give them some sort of idea.
Pause right there.
Around. This is
hold on.
We can keep. Yeah, this is institutionalized.
So the claim is that sanctuary.
He's made that
the claim. I'm trying to follow you guys because you guys don't want to defend the Trump corruption. You just want to go on the offense, and I have no problem whatsoever swiping away your bullshit. And so you just said sanctuary cities are corruption, correct? Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so what is it about the existence of sanctuary cities, someone who supports sanctuary cities, who says we should not comply with what ICE and DHS are doing, that entails corruption?
Okay, great question.
Yeah, it's real simple. They're ignoring federal law in regards to immigration in order to supplement their voters.
No, that's not true. No. Yes. Federal law, in cases such as...
Let's answer it. So when the Biden admin drops 4,000 immigrants into a city with 2,000, the city that was there has no voting power anymore. They're already outnumbered.
That's a different topic, Stream Riffs. I know that you're not following, but the topic was
sanctuary. You don't like voter fraud?
Sorry.
What part of it is sanctuary?
So the claim
Jesus Christ,
so you guys can't stay on one claim.
You dressed yourself in the morning.
The first claim was sanctuary cities.
The claim you've been making the whole time.
So the first claim you said was sanctuary cities are corruption. And do you want me to address that claim or not?
You don't like the
Yeah, because-
answer. I think
so
you're smart enough
because
to
it
understand
speaks-
it.
So
speaks
when,
to the
when I
overall
start
institutionalized
talking,
part.
on,
when I
let-
start
by the
talking about
Democratic Party.
sanctuary cities, you move on to a different policy. This allegation that Biden is dropping off immigrants in particular places to make sure.
Unlike what you want to do, Pisco, these are all connected issues. It's
No.
not like I could go. This what
So-
you're doing is very dishonest. Where you go,
It's
one
not
policy,
dishonest
we can
to
only
talk
that
about
policy
things
when these
one
are
at a time.
interconnected webs.
Yeah.
But it is dishonest when you want. Listen, anybody can look at one thing and be like, in and of itself, that one thing is not this. But whenever you combine them and you layer, it's like Jenga. If I just go in there and I grab all the ones.
So are
at the
you
bottom,
conceding
yeah,
that
it's gonna
sanctuary
fall over.
cities
But
are
if
not
I ever
innately corrupt? Are you conceding that sanctuary cities
I
are
would
not
argue
innately
they are
corrupt?
innately corrupt.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they
now
are
I want to
innately
address
I'm gonna
that, right?
explain to Deb.
So
Okay,
let's
hold on.
so can we address that, or are you going to move on?
Pisco, I'm gonna
Let-
address
let-
it right now.
I
I'm gonna
do
address it
want to
right
know
now.
why they're inherently corrupt. I am curious.
Dev, under American law, which you've said you're not familiar with, and I appreciate that. Maybe you'll be able to help us all make some progress here and break some bread. So if you've got a city with 100,000 people in it, and it becomes a sanctuary city, and they let 10,000 people in and let them vote, and it skews the policies towards the people who let the immigrants in, do you think that that's election interference, fraud, corruption of any kind?
I need more information to make that determination.
Okay, I mean, but like if you can see why some people might.
You're
Right,
asking a
like,
question.
if
You're
you
not
let 10,000
establishing
people
why it's
in,
corrupt. Why
I'm laying a
sanctuary cities?
foundation,
Yeah, so no, you're not. You're
I'm
asking
laying a
questions.
foundation,
So we want to know why sanctuary city policies are corrupt, and to
Okay, I'll
give the
walk you through it.
audience
I got you.
some view
I
into
got you.
so to give some view
Yeah.
into what these sanctuary policies entail, and as has been held by federal law, that there's no commandeering of state officials and state apparatuses of enforcement. That is a principle that's been expounded by the Supreme Court. So
You
not
asked a
only is
question,
it
kept
so not
ranting. You
only
asked
is
a
it
question,
so
keep
no
ranting.
I'm gonna explain
No, keep
exactly
yapping.
that these sanctuary policies have been approved by Supreme Court, now existing Supreme Court precedent. Now the question for you guys is, why is refusing to cooperate with DHS, as has been approved by the Supreme Court of the United States, why is that corruption? Answer it.
Oh, real simple. How about if someone sneaks a bomb through because they didn't
Oh my God.
work with DHS and it blows up? Is that corruption? Yeah, absolutely. That would be corruption. Like when you're sitting here arguing this, the idea that the
You think
people that
bombs
are
are corrupt?
say,
Is that corruption? Hold on.
okay.
Why
so,
is someone planning a bomb
it's real simple.
corrupt?
Hold on. Let's
Isn't that
the
just
bomb
criminality?
itself-
strip it to the. Let's hold on, please. Let's.
The
strip
bomb
it to
itself is not the
principle
corruption, but
behind
the
it.
people allowing it to go behind it. That
Yeah,
is
if
the
you can
corruption.
show that, if you can show that.
If a community votes and says, "Hey, we don't agree with this federal law, so we don't want any of our local officials to cooperate with federal authorities in enforcing that law," is that corruption?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. There's a whole fucking civil war fought over states' rights and federalism, and guess what? Federal law supersedes local law, doesn't it?
Well, I'm going to
federal-
disagree
when there's
slightly
a
with my partner
conflict,
here.
so when-
Pisco, let me.
wait.
Since I'm cutting him off, you should let me. So here's the deal: when we have federal law that says these are the rules, and states have their own laws, there's not a dispute that it's illegal for an immigrant to vote in a federal election. But when it is corrupt, when the entire state of California makes it easy for immigrants and incentivizes them coming, and then we have en masse illegal voters voting in federal elections.
and
We're
illegal
not talking
candidates.
about
Definitionally,
voting.
that is
We're talking about
definitionally
sanctuary cities.
Yeah,
What about that is
these are
voting?
examples of illegal immigrants being like
It's the vehicle for
superintendents.
it.
That's
Okay,
something we
hold
have.
on, guys. Hold
These
on.
are
Here-
low-level officials.
Dev,
Yeah,
save us, Dave.
I think
Dave,
I know.
Dev,
So,
save us.
I think I know what you're trying to say. You're saying that there's a city, it becomes a sanctuary city. The Democrat politicians who run that city incentivize bringing in a whole bunch of illegal immigrants. They give them voting ID. They allow them to vote illegally. And then suddenly what ends up happening is these Democrats, they keep getting re-voted in by the illegals they brought in. And you're claiming that's corrupt, right? That's your argument?
Correct. They're
Absolutely.
importing
Another example.
voters.
That's just
Okay.
one type of corruption that stems
Well,
from
just
like,
wait.
the
Let's
superintendent.
talk about
another
yeah, let's
example.
talk about this one then. Let's talk about this one. So I understand your point of view. Where is this actually happening?
The entire state of California and Minnesota, these are a very common leftist approach. It's actually
I mean,
gone to the
Oakland,
point
San
where
Francisco-
literally,
yeah,
if
Oakland-
I can just
Oakland-
finish 10 more
Oakland and
seconds,
San
just 10 more
Francisco.
seconds.
So
Yeah,
your
literally,
claim
we
is
have
the
illegal
entire state
immigrants
of California.
literally
Let,
have-
let Rev finish, please. And
with literally
I don't know. I don't know why people look, I need to stop reading super chats on my own before I actually read them. But if you're gonna lie about what I'm doing, then you can leave. I don't know what you're trying to say. If we're gonna just lie about what I'm doing, I'm gonna lie about what you're doing, and you're not gonna like the lies I make. But
You said
anyway, go
what?
ahead.
I didn't say anything.
Stream Rift. Go ahead, please.
yeah, just the for example, we've got actual illegal immigrants being elected to offices as well. So it's not even just we have someone who may or may not have voted for the person they liked. Gibbs, would you say there's one in Oakland and one in...
Yeah, the Oakland, San Francisco are both examples of
Who
this.
was the illegal immigrant elected to office?
Oh, that one's Iowa. I have that one right here. You want that one? That one is right here. Is give me 2 seconds. Iowa superintendent, illegal super.
And while he's looking that up, the other thing is that the DNC and its
Andre Roberts, and not only that, he voted in 2 elections that we know of. So we have, not only do we have an illegal voting, we have an illegal that was elected to superintendent of a school district or appointed. One of the 2, I'm not sure who's elected, but some of them are. Some are appointed, and this is a low-level managerial position for the Democratic Party, or any really party if you get there. And this is what I keep talking about with streaming. It's so bad that it's all the way entrenched, all the way out through the low level to the top. You know, there's that movie, The Jungle Book, and there's a scene where he talks to the governor, and the governor's like, I have friends in high places. The guy that's throwing the coup says, I have friends in low places. This is what they're doing. They have the lower level people in place. And this Iowa superintendent is a great example of this. Someone that's voted, has a position of power, and influences policy. That's corruption at every level.
Wait, so Iowa, so the question is Iowa, so the question is Iowa a sanctuary city? That's the question.
Oh, that is not what I just said. You just
wait, so I'm asking the question: is Iowa a sanctuary city or not?
Well, Iowa's not a sanctuary. It's a city.
Okay, so Iowa, so it's fair. So
now you're done. Now you're done. You asked a question. It got answered. I ran for public office, and what happens is a lot of times in the conservative side, the Republican Party, and on the Democratic side, federal funding will come to help do campaigns. And so for someone looking to get into a lower level office, what they'll do is they'll do co-branding, and they'll say, I'll go knock a bunch of doors. I'll co-brand with my local brand, and I'm going to support fill in the blank. And so what ends up happening is the DNC funnels cash to all districts, which we would expect. And then what ends up happening is you could have some candidate who's poorly vetted or not vetted at all take a couple of bucks. Like, for example, in Nevada, they were arguing on abortion. They were talking about bodily autonomy. That was a big talking point. So if you were a candidate and you would go out and talk that point, they'd literally give you money for postcards. So you could have someone say, okay, I'll say that. And also,
I'm not going to get distracted. Okay, so let's go to Des Moines.
You can get money for this and get support.
So we're addressing first and principally. We're addressing first and foremost. So wait, I'll answer your question, then we're going to what I'm saying. So what's your question? Repeat your question.
Yeah.
Is funding illegal
immigrant campaigns?
Wait, no. He just said campaigns. So no, say that one more time.
Funding the campaign of an illegal immigrant is corruption.
Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
Is the answer that it is possible to fund a campaign? It is possible. So a private person. So I'll give you some examples. So I'll give you some examples, and then I'll get to what I want to talk about. So Streamriff just said it's de facto corrupt to fund an illegal immigrant's campaign for office. No, it's not. If someone is a private citizen and using no official power and is just funding something because they want to support their candidate, that's not corruption. If someone doesn't know, someone who is an official, someone who has some sort of input into enforcement agencies, if they don't know that the person's a legal immigrant, that's not corruption. And so the question, and at the DNC, so that would depend. That would depend on whether or not that would depend on whether the DNC was aware and had the right scienter and intent. So I answered your question, and you got obliterated. So now addressing. These are the claims that you brought. You raised sanctuary cities. You're gonna get debunked right now. You're not gonna get away from it. You are not gonna get away from it.
The claim you just said. You said, "Oh, are those people corrupt?" No, you're right. Those people are corrupt. Those people are victims of corruption.
He asked the question. So Gibbs,
your answer is you're right.
Go drink another vodka soda. Go drink another vodka soda. You're not.
You can use one.
Go drink another vodka soda. Hey, the big boys are talking now. Go drink another vodka soda. Hey,
here's a response to Gibbs.
Okay. We actually have to address something. We actually have to address something. Dev, you had a response to something?
No. Do not save them, Wick. Do not save them. Wick, do not save them. Wick, do not save them. So first of all, the question was asked. The question was asked. So he complained that I didn't answer the question. So he complained. So I'm going to finish if it kills me. He complained that before I asked my question after he derailed that I wouldn't answer. So I answered the question. The question was, is funding someone, so the question was as follows, is funding someone who happens to be an illegal immigrant corrupt? I said, no, not necessarily. Yes. That answer was true, and that answer was accurate. And I gave an example of instances where you would acknowledge that notwithstanding that you're funding an illegal immigrant scam, notwithstanding, but I answered the question accurately and honestly. And now we're going to go now. So now what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your claim. Your claim was sanctuary cities are corruption havens, and your evidence of that is, well, look, they elected an illegal immigrant, and then you're like, wait, where did they do that? And then they said, oh, it happened in Iowa. And then I was like, well, is Iowa a sanctuary city? Like, no. And then I looked into it. Wait a second. Let me finish it. You're not. Wait, no. He's not getting away from this. He brought up. This is his example. No. This is his example. We're gonna go through it. So you get debunked. This is the MAGA. This is MAGA. Through and through. You can so this is exactly the no, let me finish my fucking thought. This is exactly what we're getting. They bring up their own example. They bring up their own example of sanctuary cities, and they say sanctuary cities allow for all of these candidates who are illegals to go to office. They brought up an example. Gibbs brought up an example in Iowa. And in Iowa it is not. It not only is it not the case that it's a sanctuary city. It is against the law. It is against state law in Iowa to have a sanctuary jurisdiction. So I'm going to ask Gibbs that it isn't true, right? That your example is furthering your point, correct?
I literally said, if you had listened, clearly you didn't. I was like, and I'll give you an example of a non-sanctuary city. And then I gave the Iowa superintendent who was illegal.
But you were asked about sanctuary cities. That's what you were asked about, not non-sanctuary cities, because that's your example, right? You were asked about sanctuary cities, not non-sanctuary cities.
Yeah, listen, just a simple thing. Just a real simple thing. You have an example from a sanctuary city.
Absolutely defeated.
Sure, you got. I mean, really, okay, sure. Any election that the legal
did we ask for non-sanctuary cities, or did we ask for sanctuary city analysis?
Hold on. We asked you. The topic once again is fraud, and which one's worse, basically. How I understand
it's about corruption, actually. Hey, wino. Hey, wino. It's about corruption, actually.
Wino, corruption, fraud. Hey, listen, it's crazy. Is I could still do this hammered, and I would still be more coherent and more correct than you ever would be. Just so you got caught here.
Well, you're hammered and you're incoherent. Well, you're hammered and you're incoherent.
When you just passed, when you just passed off. When you just passed off, hold on, Whick. Hold on. I'm going to adjust. Sure, I will adjust that. But any example, all right, sure. I'll give you an example. Any election that has been held where legal citizens are illegal or got to vote, that is a fraudulent election, in my opinion.
Oh,
and those are all
so Trump's election was fraudulent. So I want to hear you say, was Trump's election fraudulent? Was Trump's election fraudulent? Yes or no? Was Trump's election in 2016 and 2024 fraudulent?
It's not fraudulent. Wait a
second. Did illegal immigrants vote in 2024 and 2016? Yes or no?
Yes. Those are fraudulent votes.
Okay, you just said if an illegal immigrant votes, it's a fraudulent election. You just said that, right?
Yeah. There's a difference between a federal election where that's illegal for them to vote and then they get caught, and a local election where they're encouraged by the Democratic Party.
So how is this legal conduct corrupt?
That distinction.
So how is this legal? How is this legal conduct corrupt?
Let's back that up a little bit.
Hold on, stop. All of you, stop. All of you, stop. Okay, I don't understand in a fundamental level. While if a locality wants to enable any voter, illegal or illegal, to vote in their local election, how that is corruption because the local citizens have decided to do this. Why is that corrupt? You could say it's wrong. You could say it shouldn't be done, and you would disagree with it. But walk me through, please, how that is corruption.
Do you have people? Do you have people now voted in where legal citizens can vote? Do you have people that are voted in that are going to implement policy?
Why are you asking questions? Why don't you explain? Why are you asking fucking questions?
Because
explain.
Remember all those times you get lost? Give just a sec. Pisco, you know how you get lost? The reason why you
I'm not lost at all.
Is because you don't let people
you are very lost.
ask questions to check in along the
you
way.
Are like
so if you say we'd agree on this, yes.
I'm scared for your health right now, Gibbs. I'm scared that you're going to pass out how drunk you are. You're not tracking the conversation.
I am too.
I do want to
Will someone getting elected make a policy? Yes, that's
I do want to rebuttal this real quick, this drunk claim that keeps occurring. One,
I don't care about the drunk claim.
You just admitted it. You said you were plastered.
I once again never said that.
He said he would beat you if he was plastered.
I will finish. And Here's what the best part about this is. Once again, I've already laid out, and Streamers laid out how this is fraud on multiple levels. Once you get somebody in power,
that's the thing.
Sure. Once you get,
that's why
I know
how
we
is
have a
this
bias
corruption
moderation.
and-
You have to save him. I got you. Hold on. Let me help you out there, so you can stop saving Pisco, and then you'll.
I'm not saving Pisco. I'm trying to understand the fundamental pillar of your argument.
Okay, cool. It's real simple. Once again, this is why I gave the example in the town. If I started importing illegal immigrants and we started voting, these people are never going to get saved. Now, what's going to happen next is we're going to have people putting policy in there that's going to benefit me exclusively and benefit the people I have under my payroll, i.e. the legal immigrants, right? Because guess what? I can pay them as a ranch owner, and that's not illegal. Guess what? So then once again, I turn around. This isn't corruption at that point by the legal standards, right? But it is corruption when we start looking at the overall, because I'm impacting people not only in my county, I'm impacting people Texas-wide because of policy that goes against what federal mandate is, which is federal mandate.
You don't like the policy, therefore corruption. That's your analysis.
So once again, when we talk about, hold on, let me finish though. Once we get what we were just talking about, what Pisco did is so dishonest. What Pisco's done this whole time is very dishonest. And so take one thing out of context, be like, oh, well, the person donating this campaign, that is not corruption. That is not corruption.
Therefore,
I agree. That is not corruption. That would be victim. They would be the victim of the fraudulent campaign where someone who is illegal has ran for office, like the Iowa example. And that's a totally
so Gibbs.
I know Pisco's confused.
Like 20 minutes ago, I asked for evidence of sanctuary cities allowing illegals to vote in order to corruptly entrench Democrats into power. I haven't heard an example of that.
I gave you two. Oakland and San Francisco both allow illegal immigrants to vote, and both of those have people, I would argue, been put in power because of illegal immigrants voting or legal immigrants voting.
Do you have names really know the candidates that have been put into power in these places?
Any candidate in those towns that are Democrat, like because of these policies.
Oakland and San Francisco. Okay, that's the claim.
So Oakland and San Francisco. No, but the question is more fundamental than what Whick asked. Whick asked a fundamental question, which is, let's even grant it. Many of these jurisdictions require you to be a green card holder, but let's just put it aside. Let's say that a jurisdiction grants and the citizens come and say, we actually want these people to be part of electing local superintendents or whatever. We think that they're part of the community. How is that corruption? That was the question that Whick asked, even assuming that happens.
A very clean answer is the fact that it manipulates the amount of congressional representation that they get and affects the amount of votes that California.
I'm talking about the lower level too.
No.
Just as a matter of fact, the allowing them to vote or not allowing them to vote will not change the amount of representation. That's both based on the census, and the census does not.
Question is
whether you are voting or not.
Well, it could affect the state legislature. If you're voting at local state level, you could affect state policy, which is still millions of people. That is a
No, but the question is asked.
If every province that had a sanctuary city that got 1 million Americans got an extra 20% in their provincial budget, would you consider that corruption?
Sorry,
depends on the purpose. It depends on the purpose. So it depends on how it's implemented, and it depends on how it's implemented. But again, you're asking more questions. You're not explaining. You're asking more questions. You're not explaining why.
We explained it. You're just plain ignorant.
So you're just asking.
I'm just trying to figure out how it's corruption. That's all.
That's what we asked you, and you're dodging. Answer that question.
But listen, this is an age-old tactic. The Democrats' best tactic is to plead ignorance and not know what we're talking about when obvious things are being obvious.
Hold on. No, it's not. That's the problem. It's not obvious to me, and that's why.
I think I was making progress with Dev, to be honest. I've been very pleasantly surprised about how well this.
Dev is
he's been crushing you at every moment.
However many provinces you have up there.
I don't know if he's crushing me, but he's been.
We have 10 provinces and 3 territories.
Okay, great. So is that so of those 13, if you get an extra 1 million Americans to come, they're illegal, but if you get them to come anyway, your province gets double the budget. So all of your taxes are cut in half, benefits are doubled. So the states have that, the provinces and territories have that incentive. Would you think it would be fraudulent or corrupt for one of the parties to make a sanctuary city for Americans to try to get them in, so that way they could get the votes and also help secure the control over that budget?
If it turns out that all of these illegal immigrants overwhelmingly vote for one party over another, yes, that can be corruption. The issue is that I don't see evidence of this happening in the States.
Well, and that's fair, and that's why I appreciate you engaging with the abstraction.
You understand that's why they're asking for examples.
Everyone has been asking for evidence this whole fucking time. So don't act like, we finally got to a point of result. Like, have you forgotten the conversation?
That, please. Let Riff respond to that.
Look, I think, for example,
this is why Dev and me and Pisco have been asking for examples, correct?
Right. So the premise here is that there's an unreasonable burden Pisco likes to throw. He likes to throw a ton of questions, ask for far more proof than he'll offer, and come with no good faith. What Dev just did right here in real time was I said, okay, well, let's say we're not looking at the specifics before we go hunting for specifics, especially because it makes it easier to move the goalpost if you don't button it down. Let's agree. And I gave a very on the nose example. I haven't proved anything. But in application, what we know is California, for example, has sanctuary cities. Demonstrably. There's no question about that. Arguably, it's a sanctuary state. I don't know. And I got to believe it's an incentive for someone to come if they're going to be protected and they're going to get benefits. So there seems to be an actual act of corruption if you're trying to incentivize illegal behavior using government funds.
What is the evidence of that is what you're being asked for.
I mean, it's pretty clear that whenever everybody asks, I mean, this is a selling point from the libs that I hear all the time, is that all these people just want to come to America for a better life. And if one of those ways they have a better life is they can come here legally and get incentives like government welfare, or they can get government driver's licenses, they can get into programs like, I don't know, trucking programs. We've seen that be on the news recently. Some have been legal, some have not. I mean, these are all examples of incentives. Now, I don't know about you, but hold on. I've done sales
and you have no evidence.
Hold on. Now, I've done sales my whole life. Right. And so I guess this is anecdotal, but part of the way you get a sale is you hit them with all your incentives. And this is the same thing here is they're selling this to these people. Now, I know you're a lawyer, but it seems to me like you should have gone back to community college and took a logic class because this is an A to B to C kind of thing right here. And I don't know why you're exactly confused about
it. Yeah, A to B to C is just like you
if I have an incentive,
a senior moment or something. I don't know what to say about it. Yeah.
Well,
so like
this
has been a thorough. So we've tried now numerous times to engage your immigration arguments in good faith. You have zero evidence other than you're saying you're going to assume.
The Biden administration told the state of Virginia they cannot take illegal immigrants off the voter rolls. This happened in more than one state.
So you are mischaracterizing. You are mischaracterizing those court cases.
Illegal voters.
You are mischaracterizing. Like so there's federal law that prohibits certain clearing of voter rolls, and that is as a matter of federal law that states are bound to. That states that is a decision. That is a decision. What you again, as you guys manipulate, twist, and outright lie, what you're referencing is a slew of challenges where the courts upheld the statutory commandment of Congress to limit when you can purge voter rolls, and you're saying that states being in compliance with binding law on elections is evidence of corruption. It is laughable. You have had the opportunity now to make your case about Democratic. You've had your opportunity now to make the case for Democratic corruption. You wasted all your time on these bullshit policy arguments that are not corruption. So why don't you defend the actual corruption that we're seeing in the scores of different areas, billions of dollars in the Department of Justice, most specifically. So why don't you defend that? How about the slush fund? Do you support that? Is that corrupt? Yes or no?
No, it's not corrupt. It's a normal executive function. There's an expectation that they're going to have a liability.
So Trump being on both sides of the V.
Let me answer, you retarded ape. Why is it so fucking hard for you to let people answer? You sit there and you say, oh, well, people can't answer. Oh, they don't answer.
You just said it wasn't corrupt. Why is it not corrupt?
The chief executive officer of this beautiful country knows there's an outstanding liability. Things like the FBI going after conservatives, people being censored and silenced, people being held without proper charges, all sorts of civil liberty violations. It is the most normal thing in the world to allocate funds for expected litigation losses. This is fucking normal shit.
So what they're trying to tell you right now, what these MAGA dick sucks are trying to tell you right now, is that Trump being on both sides of the V, he is the plaintiff in the case, and he also controls the Department of Justice, giving a generalized fund of about $1.6 to $7 billion to be used on the people where he is in charge of where this money gets doled out of ultimetely. That is not corruption.
That him being part on this, so
So he was operating on. It was a collusive lawsuit in which he is operating as the plaintiff and the defendant, and he's created. Wait, what about that is bullshit?
Bullshit.
Did you say there's no factions within the U.S.?
So hold up. Was Trump the plaintiff in that case? Was Trump the plaintiff in that case?
Whenever you're ready.
You just said it was false, what I just said. So was Trump the plaintiff in that case? Was Trump the plaintiff in that case? Was Trump the plaintiff in that case?
You've asked. Hold on, Pisco. You've asked him a couple questions. Your first question, is what is bullshit?
Yeah, what is the bullshit?
Question, Riff. What is the bullshit?
So Trump did not make the DOJ spy on him before he was even elected as the president. So the fact that he happens to be holding the title of the president right now is at least slightly limited by the fact that when they started violating his rights in some of the most egregious ways possible, including violating the Fourth Amendment, they did that both as a sitting president and as a citizen. That's kind of fucked
When did
up.
they violate? When did they violate Trump's Fourth Amendment? So first of all, your argument is bullshit because I'm asking you what about
You're
the
too
collusive?
stupid to know this.
So I'm
What
asking.
is it?
So I'm asking what the collusive. I'm asking whether or not what aspect of the collusive lawsuit was bullshit. But now let's get more specific. You said Trump's
You
Fourth
added
Amendment.
collusive.
So you said Trump's Fourth Amendment rights were violated. When were they violated?
Starting no later than 2015.
Wait.
Counselor.
What happened? What was the thing that was the violation of Trump's Fourth Amendment
There
rights?
was a FISA warrant issued on a U.S. citizen, and they did illegal wiretapping.
Was Trump
Crossfire Hurricane
Was there a
is still
warrant?
dossier.
Was there a
It's all
warrant
out
issued
there.
on Trump? Does Trump have
I
a
have a
Fourth
question
Amendment?
for you.
Wait, no.
Did he make
Answer the
them
question.
have to do that?
So does
Did he
Trump
make them do
does-
that?
So does Trump? He didn't have control of it. No, but does Trump have a Fourth
Okay,
Amendment interest?
so he-
does
how is
does
it
Trump
collusive?
does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest?
How is he on both sides
does
of the
Trump
V?
does
How does
Trump
he make
so
government act
so
the way
does
he did?
Trump
Hold on. Pisco's
does
asking
Trump
a question.
does
You-
Trump have a
he
Fourth
answered
Amendment
yours.
interest? Does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in the communications of Carter Page?
So what part of
Answer
a
the
US
question, you
citizen
cuck.
and sitting president had a wiretap on them with an unlawful
He didn't
warrant? This
have
is
that. That was
only
on
in the
Carter
wake of-
Page. What's the Fourth Amendment violation? Does Trump
So
have a
they
Fourth
use-
Amendment
it's
interest in
through the
Carter
FISA
Page's
court. Are you-
communications?
Let me ask you a fucking question, you retarded waffle. Okay. Does the FISA warrant, are those for U.S. citizens or for, and I'm going to give you a hint, the F in FISA is foreign.
It's for
What-
both.
what- is it-
you,
or is
you,
it a
you don't know.
foreign warrant?
It's so
Oh.
it's so
Oh,
laughable.
okay.
It applies to both. You really think that FISA only applies
Why
to
does
non-citizens?
sitting congressmen
So
push
FISA applies. So FISA applies more broadly. But that's not the question you were asked. The question is, does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in Carter
said your
Page's?
claim was bullshit.
Wait, no. You said that Trump's Fourth Amendment violations were violated, and you pointed to the FISA warrants against Carter Page. My question for
The
you is:
underlying
Does
argument
Trump
isn't what you're
does
pushing
Trump
at, though.
does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in Carter Page's possessions, communications?
Yeah, but
He
you
had a
already
civil
gave
rights
it the
Answer the
violations
question.
before
Hey,
he
why
was
don't you
ever
answer
even
the question?
elected.
Does he have a
Hold on,
Fourth
hold on.
Amendment interest?
Stop. He is asking you a question. Just say if you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know.
Well, he already gave
I'm
us
going
the
to say I
answer.
declined to answer.
Yeah, you declined to
That's
answer
what
because
David-
you're
hold
a
on.
coward fuck. Because you know you got
Hold on.
because you know you got
Hold on. I'll
owned once
answer.
again.
Well,
No, if you
Pisco already
had
gave
an
us the
IQ
answer
as
when he
high as
said
you
that.
think you had, if you
So
had IQ as high as you think you could, what you could do is
do
literally
you concede
say,
that
"Do you know this
Trump's
thing?"
Fourth
And
Amendment
if I
rights
said
were
no,
not
or I didn't,
violated?
you could have walked through it.
Wait.
Instead of doing that, you say, "Do you know Carter?"
You made a
Guessing you
claim.
don't know
You're here for a
Open.
debate.
Guessing
You made a
that's-
claim.
Well, hold
So
on.
I'm not going to
Hold on,
treat you like a
already
baby.
answered my- Hold on, you already answered my claim though,
Okay,
which
this
was
is-
hold
this
on,
is-
hold
So
on,
Stream
hold on.
Riffs.
You already
Hey,
answered-
hey,
you
Stream
already
Riffs.
answered
So
my
the question is,
question.
are you
You're
still?
ready. You're ready for me.
all of
Hold
you
on.
motherfuckers,
Oh,
all of
God.
you.
Every time I start
Jesus Christ, all of you, every single one of you. Okay, except for Dev. Dev's been a good boy. Stop. Okay, Pisco did ask a question. You declined to answer. That's
he didn't answer
fair,
my question.
But
why
then
why
he
does he
gets
have
to
to answer my
respond to
Hold
your
on, he has to answer my question.
What's your question, Gibbs?
answer.
I'm not
And
scared
I
of your fucking
promise
question.
you, after he goes, you will get a chance to ask your questions, Gibbs. But the problem is that you all keep interrupting each other, and it's making it almost impossible to engage.
It's an attempt to try to forfeit the debate. I mean, and when you say something ridiculous like,
Wait,
well,
forfeiting?
Trump's Fourth Amendment rights were violated, therefore he can do this slush fund collusive lawsuit, and when you don't even get the facts right on whether his Fourth Amendment rights were violated, and you embarrassingly choose to not answer the question because you know you're cooked, it's a way of forfeiting the debate and bogging it down.
Yeah, I mean, I asked a simple question: are there multiple factions within the U.S. government? And by factions, I mean Democrat factions. Maybe there's progressives. Maybe there's whatever. Are there Republican
I
factions? Maybe there's
assume.
Texas-
I guess there are
Okay,
people
you
who
would
think
assume.
differently.
You
Yeah,
assume.
it's
You
a
assume.
collection of
So-
U.S. citizens.
But
yeah,
when Streamriff talks about, oh, this is five stuff warrant, I'm not going to try to dive into that. I'm not fully aware of all the details. However, I will argue that I've seen multiple times Trump administration have run-ins with people that are already entrenched in the administration. That's part of why he wanted to get Doge going. That's part of the reason why he's had so much turnover. Is he's been firing all these people. Is because every time he tries to push something, he's stopped by this machine that the Democrats have entrenched, and that's what Streamriff's talking about when he's saying, "Oh,
That's
okay,
so
they're going after
untrue,
with our
Gibbs.
laws." It is.
Gibbs,
It is.
so look at what he's doing. Wait,
This is
so
what's happening.
so
This
so
is
so the
blatantly
existence loosely of people with different ideologies and bureaucracies and agencies as a matter of bureaucratic culture, as a matter of just private interest. I'm sure that exists, but that doesn't prove that what Trump did isn't corrupt. corruption. Trump is on, again, both sides of the V. He is suing the government that he controls. He is the plaintiff and the defendant, and he is giving sweeping waivers to himself for his own tax liability and his. Yeah, so that's true. What I just said is true.
You're saying both sides of the V, but you're acting as if somehow he was the one that created it.
No,
How
but you just got
insane
cooked.
It is that you would even pretend in the light of day.
That is
Trump
the point.
First of all, there's no.
himself.
like he opened the investigation.
So first of all, here's the question. Wait, no. So real quick, Stream Ref. No, I just responded to you. So what was the lawsuit? Was the lawsuit about FISA? Was the lawsuit about FISA? What was the lawsuit about that Trump brought?
So what part?
What was the lawsuit about that Trump brought?
Violations that the government had against Trump.
What violation was it? What violation was it that he sued about?
I'm not litigating that right now.
Do you know? Do you know or do you not know what he sued over?
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant what he sued over. You just heard him say it's irrelevant what he sued over. He's trying to litigate the merits of what he was suing over, and he doesn't know what he sued over.
It's irrelevant.
I'm trying to figure out what lawsuit. Hold on, Pisco.
This is the lawsuit of the slush fund. This is the Trump versus the IRS case. He thinks it's about Carter Page because he's fucking stupid and brain broken. It's not about Carter Page. You realize that, right?
That's not what he said.
You realize it's not about Carter Page.
Is this the one? Hold on, just for my edification. This is the one about the tax returns, correct?
That's right. Has nothing to do with the FISA warrant process, Stream Refs. So you got cooked again. You don't even know what the lawsuit was about.
You just cooked yourself because you don't even know what he asked and said. He didn't say that. He said this has been a reoccurring theme where Trump has been attacked from within.
He said Fourth Amendment violation. Fourth Amendment violation
by the factions that you already admitted are there.
He said Fourth Amendment violation.
So you can't sit here with a straight face and any credibility and be like, oh, since Trump is in office, everything that happens
even know he was defending. So this is why this debate.
Dev gets to go now. Dev gets to go now. Dev gets a chance to talk
real quick.
in the debate he's a part of. Dev, go ahead.
So from what I understand, Gibbs, your view seems to be that every time Trump tries to do something, this group of Democrat operatives, you can call them the deep state if you want.
I mean,
there are people. Yeah, there are people who basically are in like the middle level of the civil service who stop him basically, and that's kind of
right. I'll give you a right wing equivalent. Say Ken Paxton, y'all mentioned earlier, sued Biden. Would that be like Biden like working against himself if Ken Paxton does it? Like no, it's like you have people like
what a
I know it's a
comparison.
state level AG, but but I picked somebody that's actually like kind of doing something with their life.
Okay,
I'm like
let Gibbs go.
Let Gibbs go. Well, I have a question for you after you do that.
Yeah. Gibbs, real quick. Do you recall when we spoke last week?
Yeah.
And I showed you this, that the Trump administration is not going to do a Doge after action report. So there's going to be no public revealing of what Doge actually accomplished. Okay. Is this can we say that this is actually the fault of the Trump administration, or is this somebody inside working against Trump? To not reveal what Doge has done.
Well, no, because Doge is part of a larger organization within them. So, like, I'm sure that if the large organization doesn't have any kind of accounting for it, that would be a problem. I'm sure that they do, and if they don't, then I guess I'll eat crow. But like, I don't necessarily, in and of itself, find no after action report from Doge specifically to be an issue, as long as their parent company or parent little organization does. But I guess that remains to be seen. But like, yeah, I mean, on its surface, it's not my favorite thing.
Okay.
In the spirit of common ground,
sure. I do just have to.
It'd be nice if they did release. That's all.
I do just have to ask. Because again, you brought up Paxton. If Paxton sued Biden as an example to counter the claim that Pisco was making that the lawsuit about the tax returns
was collusive,
was inherently corrupt because Trump controlled both sides of the lawsuit. So again, do you not think it's at least troubling that the person who is in charge of the branch of government that is being sued, and if they do not settle, can fire the people until they do? Do you not think that that's corruption?
I mean, it could be corruption.
It could
I'm
be.
not going to say it outright.
And it could not be.
Hold on, no. Because I mean that would imply that the spoil system from the start that we've had in the United States is always going to be corruption, which I don't think is the case. I mean,
okay. Well, let me just ask you this. Let me just ask you this, Gibbs. If you were being charged with a crime, okay, someone accused you of, let's say, theft, right? You had stolen $10,000 from Whick TV, okay. So I brought suit against you, But I could also force you to settle, right? Force you to plead guilty. Would that be justice in your mind?
I would say probably not in that
No.
framing, but I would also say that's not what happened here.
No.
How is it not 100% analogous?
Well, let's see. Were these lawsuits opened? Partially while Trump is in office. And some of them were, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about one.
Wait. No, but although it's interesting you raised that point, Gibbs. That's an interesting point to raise. I just have a question for you two. When was the leak of the IRS tax returns of Trump? When did that occur? Under which presidency?
I have to go back to insulting
under
me
which
about
presidency?
having the facts wrong on
Under
the
which
FISA.
presidency?
No,
you
can't just wander past stuff when you don't want to talk about.
Wait, no,
hold on, no, Stream Rift. I asked a question.
Okay.
And I want to deal with this specific topic because it is
on the
one
lawsuit
example of corruption,
and the lawsuit
specifically against the IRS for leaking. I think it was
yes,
IRS,
and that leak happened under Trump's administration, his first administration, and it was prosecuted, and it was because you said that this was all done by Democrats, but because you thought that this was the FISA Carter Page situation, you were wrong about that, and now it's been revealed to you, I'm guessing for the first time, that the leak happened during Trump's first administration, and it was prosecuted under Joe Biden, for which he received a harsh sentence for that offense. And so the question that is being given to you is,
wait. So
how is this fair?
Opened up under a minute. Hold on. So this comes back to the original thing when we were talking about Smalley and all the fraud. You're like, oh, okay. Hey, it started under Biden and it was finished under Trump. So this started under Trump and finished under Biden. So I guess Trump gets credit for this too.
Wait.
Do you see the problem with your logic? Like you're using here?
Not
Why is
at
one
all.
count and the other one?
Wait. So first,
so if Biden gets credit for that prosecution,
wait. Trump doesn't
get credit for all the ones that finished.
Okay, hang on a second. So
the
Biden
lawsuit. Hold on. When do you think the lawsuit against
when he was in office?
IRS
Obviously,
started?
we're about to own him with that. Yes, it happened when he was in office. That's when it was.
What
Started.
does it have to do whether he's in office or
So
not?
you had just said,
No, because hold on.
didn't some of these lawsuits?
I'm going to explain this. I'm going to explain this. What Gibbs said was like, hey, if it started before Trump got into office.
Trump was in office. And so it started with Trump and it goes into Biden, right?
Yeah,
and Biden closes it.
No. Listen to Whick.
No. This lawsuit, hold on. This lawsuit started on January 29th, 2026.
And when did the investigation start?
Right.
What investigation? What are you talking about? Which investigation?
I want to hit it right on the nose.
So there's two different things.
So there was no investigation before the lawsuit started? Was there no investigation before the lawsuit started?
There was an investigation and a charge against this individual under the Biden administration. But Trump sued after, while he was allegedly president in 2026, and this is the collusive lawsuit with the slush fund. That's what you're being pointed to.
Answer this one.
When the lawsuit starts, when lawsuit starts, that's the start of an investigation. Is the minute the lawsuit's filed. They don't investigate beforehand.
No. I just explained it to you. There was a government investigation under Joe Biden. There was an indictment. Maybe they investigated also during the Trump administration. Yeah, sure. He can get partial. No. So if that's what you're referring to, we're not debating the indictment of this individual. We all think this person should have been indicted and prosecuted. Maybe it started during Trump. What we're debating is not the indictment. We're debating the slush fund and the collusive lawsuit, which is a different thing.
Here's the point that I'm making. Back to the original point we were talking about originally, right? So if the investigation started under Trump, finished under Biden with the lawsuit, and he was convicted, right? Then all the ones earlier when you said, those started under Biden, and then Trump finished them, those all count towards Trump.
No. The point on that, right? No. So I'm not in the business of giving every president like automatic wins for things that happen under their administration. The reason why it's relevant that it happened. The reason why it's relevant to bring up that it happened under Democratic presidencies is to rebut the accusation of corruption that you levied. So it's relevant for the specific purpose of undermining the credence that this was motivated by corruption, in that if it was motivated by corruption, we wouldn't expect to see these overt prosecutorial acts occur under Democratic presidencies. That's why the way in which it's relevant. But I'm fine. If you want to give Trump credit for the investigation of the leaking of his own IRS reports, that's fine.
Was this guy
give him a chance to respond, but then Dev was still going with his questions, but respond. I want to give it to Rift and then to Gibbs to respond, and then Dev, continue your questions. And then I have a lot more super chats, but yeah.
So Pisco, here's a signature yes or no question. I know you're a fan of them. Did the IRS violate Trump's rights by leaking his document,
not his Fourth Amendment rights? No, not his Fourth Amendment rights. No.
It was the question. I said yes or no. Did they violate his rights?
I'm not aware that they violated his rights.
So what you're saying is that
the answer
could
is
be
no.
held accountable because Trump.
I didn't say that.
So
You asked whether
his answer to you is no. He said
so your question was whether it violated his rights, and my answer to that is no.
Cool.
What rights did it violate?
No, you answered my question. Go ahead, Dev.
Do you assert that it violated rights? Yes or no?
Dev was going to speak, but yes.
Okay, what rights did it violate?
What rights? Yeah, what rights did he violate?
Well, so we have we have privacy protection on a number of things. We can't, like, for example, the government can't leak Medicare. So this is a part of where I think some of your bad faith. I cannot cite the law where I should not hit punch a cop, but I know very well.
He's not. Hold on, just real quick. He's not asking you the law. He's asking you for the right. So the right to privacy. That's a perfectly valid answer.
Yeah. Here's what I would say to that.
Let me answer.
So the IRS
didn't. I didn't finish. I didn't finish.
Please, Griff.
So the whole premise of this is, if we're submitting our financial documents and our social security number and our business information and our business financials to the government, they do have a reason. There's some duty, I believe, imposed.
Yes,
in them actually having that
the government.
Information.
Yes,
and I'm not done yet. So when the government, through its officials, violates that, leaks information, I believe that creates an actionable event, and that's the entire premise.
No. So it would be like, so here's the explanation. Your rights run to the government, right? If someone goes into your house, Stream Riffs, and like does a computer espionage and steals your documents and all that stuff, yeah, no doubt. As against that person, you have a private cause of action, probably under a number of federal statutes relating to computer fraud. The government does have an obligation not to release some of this information, but this was a rogue IRS actor over which the IRS did not approve that decision. And so the cause of action runs to the person who actually did the harm to Trump. That is where where it happens, but the IRS did not do it.
Didn't this guy work for Obama, though, originally? And so then he got the job as a contractor with the IRS. After that, it seems like
a contractor.
Same answer. Wait. Hang on a second. So I think he worked for Booz Allen or something. He was some contractor, but that doesn't change. That doesn't change the analysis just offered before. So understand where we are first, right? So first, the argument was we violated the Fourth Amendment rights of Donald Trump. When you were crushed on that point, now you're like, oh well, there's some privacy concern. Yeah,
so
listen, there are regimes of privacy, but they weren't violated by the IRS. The IRS did not violate his rights.
Reason why?
Yeah. So wait, a former Obama
just 10 seconds. The reason why I brought up a 2015 example was because it could not possibly be the case that the president had any opportunity to plan his own crime that way, and plan the crime against him or the infringement on his rights. So it was a timeline argument.
But that's not what the lawsuit was about. So you were just wrong on that. Why would you bring up an irrelevant thing? You were just it was embarrassing.
Why I brought it up.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the lawsuit though. So why would you bring up something that has nothing to do with the lawsuit? It's like this is like what you're saying. Well, you brought up the slush fund lawsuit, and then I brought up the one time some guy like ran over my dog. Okay, so just to be clear,
is it for J6?
So just to be clear,
rights violations by the DOJ?
So just to be clear, just to be clear, it would be like you saying, well, it was justified. It was justified for us to do the slush fund because, don't you know, they ran over his dog. And I picked that event because it like predates when he assumed office. So that's why I picked it. It makes no sense. There's no connection there. What was the rights deprivation that is the cause for this collusive lawsuit? You've been asked multiple times, and there's no justification for the collusive lawsuit.
So it's been
How
labeled,
do you defend it?
So I'm going to wrap on this. It's labeled the Anti-Weaponization Fund, and I think that was the genesis of a very tangible example of the weaponization of the government against private citizens.
Do you have a defense for the collusive lawsuit or not?
That's where the confusion comes from.
Do you have a defense for the collusive lawsuit or not? For the slush fund?
The whole fucking point that you are evading, you're already assuming that the government individual actor that you just listed off here, who was or was not a contractor, did or did not work with Booz Allen, did or did not have connections with Obama. You're saying, well, it was a government agent, so they'll never be held accountable. So it's like the violation.
I never said any of that stuff. This is all. I never said what you're just saying. He absolutely could have a case against this individual.
Hold on. Here, I have a question here. Stream Rift.
Quickly.
Okay. So from what I understand, I've been listening to this for a few minutes. It's your position that the government has an obligation to not allow your social security number, your other private data to fall into unauthorized hands, and that failing to do this is a violation of the rights of the victim.
Oh,
right?
Boy.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you have to say about the fact that somebody at Doge stole like 70 million Americans' social security numbers and other private data?
So what did they sell them on the dark web? What happened with this?
Oh my
Were they
God.
leaked? Was this information leaked? No, let's do apples to apples. Trump's information was leaked. Was this information leaked? No,
Hold on.
not relevant.
Wick,
then.
your stream died apparently.
Oh,
Wick streamed.
Wick's gone.
Oh,
it's just us
Are you
now.
Are you still streaming at Pisco or?
I'm streaming. Yo, I'm
Yeah.
live.
I'm also still streaming. Yeah.
Okay, you're supposed to give. We can keep going. Then we can keep going.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah. Basically, he took the 70 million Americans' information and he took it
For
to
no
his new
reason,
job.
just for fun. Yeah. He has no desires about appropriating that data at all. He just took it just cause. That's what you're saying, right, Streamriff? That's what you think is the best inference?
Well, so some people have the concern here is the rabid left would rather argue over things that eventually come to not be the case. And one of the issues raised while Doge was doing its work was they were blocking access to systems that Doge needed to do their work. So it's challenging to know if we're conflating.
That's not what was
being
raised by
granted
Dev.
access when they were supposed to do.
Dev raised
it
something
versus
specific.
leaving with it.
Well,
raised
these
something
people
very
didn't have
specific.
security
I answered your
clearance,
question.
one.
You fucking Go
No,
ahead.
you asked the
Well,
question. You didn't answer anything.
one-
You asked the question about whether he misappropriated the data. You didn't answer a question.
So one, he didn't
Sounds
have
like he
security clearance to have his
misappropriated
data.
the data. That one I'm less moved by.
And two, he took the data to his new job is the point.
And what was his new job? Out of curiosity.
Who
It won't change
cares?
it.
What does that
Actually
change?
don't know.
I
I don't
care.
know.
I
I don't know what
think
his
it's
new job is, but it is no. It's not
matters.
really, because
At least
it
name what
shouldn't
if you
go
can't
to
even
anyone
name
else
the
but the
business,
government.
How should I believe
Well,
anything?
well,
What
I'll
was
tell
his
you this,
godfather's
Dev,
name?
Dev,
Do you know that? What was his
well,
godfather's name?
well,
Dev, you idiot.
Give it to the employer. What
Well,
a
hold on.
lawyer.
This actually goes back to what I'm saying, right? And what Streamlet's been saying the whole time is if this guy did this of his own volition and he did it for personal gain, that's bad and that is fraud. That's corruption. I agree. I absolutely agree. However, this is not indicative of the entire Trump admin. This is indicative of one guy. However, when I look at this Little John guy, this guy clearly seems to be a Democratic operator of some sort, and then he's releasing this kind of thing. And like this kind of goes overall back to what I keep saying, where there's factions within the Democratic Party that are sitting here, have entrenched it at different levels in order to ensure that they stay in party, in power unjustly. That is kind of the bigger corruption.
So
issue
no
that-
problem. So you have no problem with slush fund, to be clear on corruption. No problem with it. You don't think it's corrupt.
I've already gone over this death several times.
But just on your disposition, do you think it's corrupt or not?
On its face, no, I don't think it's corrupt. But no,
All
I
right,
don't like it. I don't
so
like
what
that,
about the
so
James Comey prosecution? Let's move on.
I don't have the facts of James Comey in front of me. So
Okay, so you don't know about the James Comey prosecution, 8647, or the
I
lies
don't
of
have the
Congress?
info for James Comey.
Uh,
don't
Streamers.
have
Yeah, he said
Oh,
something that everybody fucking knows. What 86?
I mean, I'm sure if I start hitting you with my talking
And
points, you're probably not getting all
here's the
those
thing.
either. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
no. Here's the thing. None of that compares to what Letitia James did to him in New York. So fuck you. Next point.
Wait. So now we're comparing, right? So
Why?
So are you? So first of all, are you granting
Dev
that?
asked a question.
So
Dev,
so
I'd
so,
love
so
to
wait,
answer your
no.
question.
Let's just establish.
Whenever he gets done.
Do you think that do you think that the Comey indictment is corrupt? Yes or no?
Yeah, take your time. So Dev, I'm sorry. What was your question?
So, do you think the Comey prosecution is corrupt? And then we can talk about
I didn't
Letitia
ask you,
James.
I asked Dev.
Then we can talk about Letitia James. You brought something up. It's relevant. Let's
He
first
asked
get
why.
your
Yeah,
let's
no,
first get
he
your
asked why
disposition.
it was.
Let's first get your disposition on the Comey one, so we can compare. Do you think the Comey one is corrupt? Yes or no?
So in the case against Trump, they sued him for.
I'm asking about
There
Comey.
was
Then
no
we can go.
complaining
Then we can go
witness.
to
The
Letitia.
bank that they did
We
do
can go to
business with.
Letitia James.
Bank that-
We can go to Letitia James. But let's
welcome
get your
back, Whick.
disposition.
Hey,
Are you back?
Let's get your
Welcome
disposition
back.
on the Comey one first. So you were asked the question: James Comey indictment. Do you think it's corrupt or not?
Yeah, I think you're obnoxious, and I'm talking to Dev.
Well, no,
So
we
as
will
I
get
was
to
saying
we will
Dev,
get to Letitia James, but we
to
just
get
want to
to
know
the
your
point-
standard. Do you think that the Comey indictment was
I'm
corrupt or
trying to
not?
lay it out. You're blocking it.
No, why don't you just answer it and then we get to Letitia
He
James?
asked the question. So he asked the
Answer
question.
first my question.
I'm gonna
Was the
answer
James
Dev's
Comey
question
indictment
first. He asked it first.
was the James
It's
Comey
just-
indictment was it corrupt or not? And then we can get to Letitia James. We're not going to avoid it. We're going to deal with the Letitia James one.
So exactly what Letitia James did.
Was it corrupt to
sue
indict
on
James
the
Comey
act
or
of the
not?
state.
Can we get an answer to the fucking question? Then we'll deal with Letitia James. We spent 90% of this
Get
talking
to it
about
when we get
Democrat
done
shit.
with Dev.
No. Answer the question. Was the James Comey indictment
Dev asked
corrupt
first.
or not?
Are
was
you
the James
12?
Was the James Comey indictment corrupt or not?
Are you back?
Answer it, and then we can go to Letitia James.
I am, but we're still trying to get my YouTube stream back up. You guys go back and forth. I'm going to mess with this. But
Okay,
yeah,
so
answer
I'm
the
happy.
question, and
Stream
then
riffs.
we'll
I'm happy to get to the Letitia James
Why do you
allegation of
think that
corruption.
you have to
Answer the
hog
James
everything?
Comey one.
Dev's asked, like,
Answer the
3
James. We
questions.
spent most of this time talking about Democrats, so just answer the Comey one. Do you consider the Comey one to be corrupt or not?
You're like a child. You're
Just,
insatiable.
we've spent most of the time on your claims on Democrats. Answer the question.
Here, I'll hop in.
Yeah,
so
brother.
Stream Rift, what Pisco is asking is one half of my question, so you might as well answer it.
I want to answer it after I answer your half. I agree with you.
Just
agree
answer
with
it now.
you. What
I'm not
saying
going to
is
let
we're gonna
we.
leave first.
So I'm putting my foot in the sand. I'm not going to let this continue unless you give an answer to the James Comey one. Then we can go to the. We can spend most of the time on the Democrat allegation. That's you. By the way, we spent most of the time now on Democratic allegations that are all bullshit that you've made. So just answer the question simply. Do you consider it to be corrupt or not?
So I'm gonna go eat dinner soon. So as much as you want to put your
Fuck
foot
you,
down,
pussy.
I'm not saying anything.
Why are you even here?
Until I
Get
answer Dev's
out.
question.
Get the fuck out. What
Why
are you
do
doing?
you have to take so much of the talk time?
I got another hour.
It
I
wouldn't
gotta
be.
go.
We are pulling teeth to get you to give a disposition on
10
one of
hours.
the fucking indictments. You are a disgrace to the human race. Get the fuck out of the call. Why are you still here?
Well, at least hold on. I
Get
go
out of the call.
for like 10 minutes. What are we?
Why do you
doing?
invite this
What's
troll?
going on?
I mean, so he just said,
I made a
"I'm
claim,
hungry. I
and
don't
then
want to
Dev
answer
asked
because
a
I'm
question about
hungry."
it, and then after that, Pisco asked a question.
You are
I
a
wanted to answer
rat.
Dev's
You are
question
trying to give
first
away our
because I think
country
it
to
frames
corrupt
what I
actors.
was saying.
You are a disgrace to the human race. Get the fuck out of the
He's
call.
glitching out.
Jesus
my
Christ.
God.
Okay.
Are you back yet, Wick?
No,
Dev, I'm
YouTube
sorry.
is still
I'll
down. I don't know what's
answer-
going on with it. I guess we're just gonna. Here's what we're gonna do. I can't see anything on YouTube, unfortunately.
Are you booming?
I am booming.
Bro, this
I
is
don't know,
crazy.
but okay. Let's give our strongest. Okay, let's start this way. Give the strongest
Well,
evidence. This is to Devin Pisco. Give the strongest evidence you have of Trump's corruption that is worse than anything Democrats have done, and then I'll make them engage with it. They have to. or they
So
will
we
be
just asked the question. So we can give the James Comey positive case for why it's corrupt, but we just want to know if you agree or not, and then we're happy to go into the Comey direction or the Letitia James direction. But you just are refusing to answer your own feelings about one of the seminal moments of corruption in the Trump administration. So I'll ask it again: was the James Comey indictment corrupt or was it not corrupt?
When I answer your question, will you stop being a whiny bitch so I can answer Dev's?
Yeah, you can answer
Is that
Dev's
an
right
acceptable
after
term for you?
right after you answer it. Yes.
Okay, was it corrupt? No.
Okay.
So Dev, with the Letitia James example, we had something that has almost never happened, may have never happened before in American legislative history or legal history. We had the prosecutor was prosecuting something, so it was bank fraud. Okay, allegedly. So the claim was Trump defrauded the bank when he filled out a loan application, and without going into all the sordid details of it, this amounted to a situation where the bank themselves said, "No, it's fine." And they said, well, he inflated the value of property, but on the application itself, it said they're not going to take that into consideration. It was a box that needed to be filled out. The bank testified, no, we didn't need that. We didn't care. And so they said that the dollar amount that he put on a loan application was fraud, even though the person that took the loan accepted it, understood it, knew that it wouldn't need to be accurate. And on top of that was paid back all of their interest and was still doing business. So this is a strange case to bring up some type of a protection claim. There's nothing like it.
Can I answer or are you just asking Dev?
Well, I guess my question here is, how does any of this lead to Trump somehow being less corrupt than the Democrats? Where's the connection here to the actual topic?
Yeah, so
I think the easiest way to explain this, I think, and maybe I'm speaking for Speeding with here, is that the way I'm looking at it. I'll you know what? I'll just grant it because we're talking the Comey thing's the 86-47 thing, right? I think like let's just you know what? I understand it's corrupt. Fuck it, let's just grant that. The issue that I think that Stream Riff and I are having, I think maybe we're missing each other, is, and I said this in my opening. Trump is like the populist outsider. He's definitely not the neocons, right? He's not the traditional like Republicans. He's not a Texas independence guy. He's like a new thing, right? He's barely Republican. He's a New York 90s Democrat, right? And so when we get him in here, yeah, he might be corrupt, but he's a grenade. We threw him in there to go blow this shit up.
So he is
Because
corrupt.
the current system, sure, maybe, but he's
Yeah.
not as corrupt as the inherent system that the Dems have set up at every single level, from local to national, where we're seeing these things now with the voting fraud. We're seeing this with the illegal immigration desires. We're seeing this with the feedback loop from the NGOs.
Can we just take a
We're
specific
seeing all
point? You guys,
this-
so the Letitia James are brought up.
So, well, just wait. So Gibbs. I've heard this before.
He's a good rapper. Too.
Yes, okay, I've heard this before, and I asked you for evidence that, and we got to sanctuary cities, and I said, okay, evidence of sanctuary cities allowing illegals to vote in order to corruptly entrench Democrats into power. You gave me the examples of Oakland and San Francisco.
Yeah, those are good
ago,
examples,
right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, those are good ones.
Okay. So I decided, I assume that, I hope we're all going to trust Ballotpedia. I decided to look it up. I wanted to figure out
purpose
what's
of this
actually going
discussion,
on.
we certainly.
I hope the Republicans won, but from the illegal vote.
Yeah.
That would be based.
Sure. So I wanted to see, the history of non-citizen voting in the United States, and I found 3 cities, in fact, and Oakland, San Francisco, and DC. Those are the 3 cities that allow it. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, okay, so what's actually happening in these 3 cities? And it turns out for Oakland, it's only for the school board. It's not actually for like any real elections of substance.
But that's what I'm talking about, though. Hold on.
Well, sure. I understand, but it's very weak evidence for your case, though. Like, the fact that illegals can vote for people on a school board is not evidence that the Democrats have this entire entrenched system that goes all the way up to the top. And
this is why I disagree
with that claim.
Well, actually, I disagree with you vehemently on this. And I think maybe this is where we're having another problem. Is y'all keep looking at this at the national, right? I actually think it's much more dangerous at the local, where elections are decided on like Harrodsburg, 20 votes, 8 votes, 100 votes. They have runoffs over these smaller. That I think is more important. And when we have things like the school board, these are what's controlling the education of
That's more important than foreign policy, the wars, the Qatar deals. It's more important. So what you're trying to say with a straight fucking face is that this school board election is more important when it comes to corruption. More important when it comes to corruption than our entire foreign policy, our Department of Justice being implicated in it. This school board election. Okay, you are all fucking unreasonable hacks. Well, this is an insane standard.
And you have 3 brain cells.
I also want to point out.
I mean, what's the point?
Dev, go.
Is that for both Oakland and San Francisco, they allow non-citizen residents, which means people who are in America illegally who aren't citizens. By the way, I don't agree with
non-citizen residents. Wait. Did you say non-citizen residents? That's not illegal.
Non-citizen residents.
That's not
a non-citizen resident is not an illegal immigrant. So to be clear, is it the case or is it not the case that that illegal immigrants are allowed to vote in this election?
Well, that's the thing.
Do you know or do you not know Gibbs and stream refs? Do you know or do you not know whether illegal immigrants are allowed?
Illegal immigrants are voting.
No. The question is it allowed under state and local law for illegal immigrants to vote in these elections? Yes or no? Or do you know?
Yeah,
it's likely. And
no. Is it allowed under the law?
Under local elections, and this is why it's important because California identifies legal residents.
Well, I'll read it for you, okay?
Okay, read the law.
I'll read it for you, okay? So
I have the law right here as well.
So the amendment was, shall the measure to amend the city charter to allow the city council by adopting an ordinance to authorize voting by non-citizen residents who are the parents, legal guardians, or legally recognized caregivers of a child for the office of Oakland School Board Director, if they are otherwise eligible to vote under state and local law, be adopted. And then that amendment was approved with 67%.
So that's allowing non-citizens to vote, right?
Right. Hold on. I just want to
non-citizens, but not illegals because they are in the country legally.
Hold on. This is the problem, Dev. You are absolutely correct when you say non-citizen residents does not necessarily mean illegals, right? And I would grant you that most of the time in most of the country that would be true. However, California also does, and you can look this up. They issue undocumented immigrants are allowed to obtain state's driver's license and state's identification, and then they classify those people no longer as illegal, but as non-citizen residents, even though the federal government is still going to classify them as legal. So when you have a distinction at a state and a federal level, and this is where I thought federalism occurred in the Civil War, we established the federal government gets this, their definition supersedes the other guy. And so when we're sitting here looking at this, yeah, absolutely, they do have illegal immigrants voting in their local elections.
Okay, here's what we're going to do in the interest of time. I'm going to read the rest of my I'm going to give you guys closing thoughts, closing statements. I apologize for the technical issues today. I apologize to my viewers. I don't know what happened, but we lost internet for a while. I'm going to give each of these lovely individuals closing thoughts. Then I'm going to go through these super chats. And then if you'd like to stay for call-ins, we have some call-ins that would like to talk to you, and you'd be welcome to do so. Okay, with that, I'm going to give the last word to Streamer. So Pisco, then Dev, then Gibbs, then Streamer. Pisco, close us out.
It is pathetic, right? So we started this conversation by raising a bunch of substantive corruption stuff, and not any of them were seriously contested by our opposition. They had nothing to say about the corrupt pardons, nothing to say about the attack on law firms, nothing to say about the cover-up of the Epstein files, nothing to say about the political prosecutions. They said that the slush fund wasn't corrupt, even though it was a collusive lawsuits. And the examples they brought up of Democratic corruption include, like, straight up policy disagreements or situations in which, in their mind, the Democratic representatives are not listening to honestly to the will of their voters, as though those were corrupt, and instances where they were just flatly contradicted by the facts, including when we were asking for examples on their sanctuary city corruption theory, about when that led to the kind of broader systemic corruption they were pointing to, and they were just debunked time and time again. Specifically debunked on the Des Moines situation of the superintendent. Specifically debunked on the rationale regarding why the lawsuit was filed in the collusive slush fund case. And in every one of these, you had nothing but deflection to matters of political disagreement regarding immigration policy. I think at one point he brought up trans policies. What the fuck does that have to do with corruption? Just absolutely nothing. Nothing to say. In James Comey, they think the James Comey indictment is above board, but they have a problem with the Letitia James civil case because they've never read the legal theory on the Letitia James case, and why, notwithstanding the fact that you have a bank who doesn't really care that they were defrauded, that you can still have someone be defrauded, and it not being an element contained within common law fraud as understood in New York court. But they don't know that shit. They don't know that shit because they haven't done the research. They haven't done the cases. And the people who have done the research, the conservatives that are a little bit intelligent, or at least are aware of the track record here, they all acknowledge that Trump is historically corrupt. That's why they got to bring out these bozos and no one else, these low IQ nimrods, to come and make these kind of like basically filibuster nonsense arguments, half drunk, half slurring, and it has nothing to do with the actual obvious facts before you, which are the historic levels of corruption, abuse by this administration, and nothing even coming close from the Democrats. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay around for Collins and appreciate Whick.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a crazy debate, but here we are. Dev, go ahead.
So I do think that it's telling that we spent most of the time talking about Democrat corruption and almost no time talking about Trump corruption, when there is significantly more Trump corruption, in my opinion. One thing that we didn't get to, I'll just very briefly touch on it now, are all the pardons that Trump has handed out. So we have Jason Galanet for $200 million of corruption. Joseph Schwartz, $38 million. I think these are finance guys. Lawrence Duran, $205 million of Medicare fraud. Carlos Watson, $60 million of investor fraud. Trevor Milton, $20 million of investor fraud. Todd Chrisley, $30 million bank fraud. Julie Christie, $30 million bank fraud. Devin Archer, $60 million tribal bond scheme. George Santos, $1 million multiple fraud schemes. The list goes on, and these are all people that are Trump's friends that have committed fraud. They have been found guilty of this stuff, and Trump has pardoned them. That is ridiculous. It is insane how much corruption is just pouring out of the Trump administration right now.
Thank you for being here, Dev.
Thank you.
Gibbs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. There's a reason, like Dev said, that we talked about Democratic fraud. It's because every time I open the door, I get slapped in the face with more Democratic fraud. It's like breathing air to these people. They're so entrenched with their degeneracy and their corruption that they can't even see what's in front of them. It's pretty obvious that's what happened. We got really in depth with it, and I mean, I really look forward to another debate by Pisco where he claims he won and then deletes the VOD because he took a huge whooping from Papa Gibbs again, because this is about the third or fourth time that's happened. If you go check it out, every time I debate him, he deletes it because he took a whooping behind a woodshed. And I'm just saying that's really the fact. Now, if you like anything I had to say, and you hated everything I had to say, you find me over as Admiral Gibbs. And thanks again for having me.
Real quick,
Well,
real quick. I unlist all of my VODs and put them into a playlist, as is oftentimes standard for
So you're
political
saying he's
streamers.
right.
And but to be clear, you have been featured on numerous of my most popular debate videos, and so it's just not the case that you've ever impressed anyone with your bullshit.
I got no idea whether
just real quick, Pisco.
Let's give it to.
Don't delete this one just in case, because we missed like half an hour of the debate when Whick was
I'm
gone.
sorry.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah,
It wasn't-
I don't delete my VODs. The VODs are all available.
Bloviating you did while you even gone.
Wait, no, my VODs are all available. I don't know. I don't delete my VODs.
Fair enough.
Supreme.
Okay,
I
great.
want to give it. Last word to Mr. Streamrift. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody being here, and especially Dev. I'll close on this. You're right. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about Trump, partially because the framing of is the Trump admin as corrupt as a corrupt policy over 4 decades is just heavily weighted in one direction. By Dev's numbers, 3 to 4 billion, I would put, even if we triple that, let's call it 10 billion. The amount of money that the DNC's been able to funnel through manipulating the congressional representation to pass laws that set the budget and move money where they want is estimated on my research around 10 to 11 trillion dollars. So when that much money is getting funneled out the door, and we have people in Congress that are 70-80% of them are voting, they're voting consistently against their voters. When their voters make it clear there's certain policies they want illegals guilty of crimes deported, they want men out of women's sports, they want to see some very specific things, and they're not getting them. Voter ID is the perfect example, probably the best one to end on. Majority of Democrats actually want voter ID, as do Republicans. The only reason it's a partisan issue is because the organizations like the DNC, which is far more corrupt than Trump, manipulate the way that American policy gets executed against the will of the people, which is the definition of corruption. And with that, I will just end again by saying thank you so much, Whick, for graciously hosting this, and Pisco, fuck you.
Okay, wonderful. I'm glad we all ended on a happy note, mostly. Let me read some of these super chats, and we'll bring in some. And I'm gonna rapid fire these because I have to go through another site because unfortunately I was disconnected enough that it doesn't come up on my main site, so I have to do this the old-fashioned way. $2 from Dude Man Zoo. Say ponder the orb, Wick. Okay, thanks for the $2. $2 from Testicle Johnson. Pisco was dishonest about what Streamrift said.
Like they can't point to any specifics, by the way. Just note that there's zero specifics. What was I dishonest about what Streamrift said?
I don't know. Testicle Johnson, super chat me more money and tell me. $5 from Dr. Adam, Brigadier General, to say wonderful panel. Discount Hassan, Kami Dev, Gibbs the drunk mumbler, Wick the wicked wizard, and some random streamer. Interesting panel today.
Yeah, if you complain, if you're a conservative and you're unsatisfied with the representation on this panel, just think about what that says for the people who are definitely in the space and who talk about a lot of corruption, Democrat corruption, but are unwilling to engage. What does that tell you about that?
You're such filth that they won't show up for you.
Oh yeah,
that's
sure.
My reason.
That's the code. That's the code.
I personally.
And Gibbs is a nice guy.
I personally believe the best way to win is let the Dems talk, and Pisco's proving it today.
$10 from Soda Rush. Just looked up where the most fraud happens in the U.S. by states. Florida and Georgia immediately came up. California, in some stats, seems to come up as second, but the formers are first and third. Thank you for $10. $10 from Pondering Politics. Is it corrupt to receive money from fraudsters? I don't know if MAGA wants to go down that road.
Yeah.
Considering how many have given Trump money and Trump has pardoned some.
Yeah, like the reason we were trying to ask for standards of corruption is if you say, like, for example, in the Keith Ellison, that whole bullshit rabbit hole, that him being in the presence of a fraudster shows that he was tacitly endorsing fraud, then holy fuck. I mean, we just have so much evidence of
but when
Trump
the nonpartisan
convicted fraudsters, knowing so at the time.
The nonpartisan watchdog was told them about the corruption, and then they turned it away. So when the nonpartisan watchdog,
totally non-responsive to what I just said, which is if your standard for corruption is physical presence,
I'm not going to look at it.
Well, hold on. You remember he's complaining about our standards. Your standard was out just alleged. So, I mean,
that's right.
I think the
opening standard was
so first of all, no. In terms of some of our corruption examples, there have been cases regarding the corruption, including, by the way, courts that have found that the slush fund is unconstitutional, illegal. Some of the cases that we're talking about are literally pardons.
Isn't it great that we have the judiciary to hold us accountable? So in case there actually was corruption, that they're holding
some of the examples.
So
I'm contesting the claim that Gibbs just said that all of our claims are allegations. No, there have been some determinations made by official bodies, including he did just say that. I don't know if you have like some kind of like dementia or something. He just said all they have. He said according to our standards. He said you're talking shit about our standards. He said all you have is allegations. So you just said. So what you just said was. So what you just said is you're complaining about our standards. All they have is allegations. All they have is allegations. And I'm saying no, that's not the case.
Stop. I need his weed dealer.
Okay, well, all of you stop. All of you stop. First of all, you're fighting on every single fucking $5 super chat, and fair enough, right? But second of all, and this is to Gibbs and to Streamrift, and to Streamrift specifically, are all allegations?
That's not. No, hold on.
So let me answer Wick. We
don't want to go down there. Of course, yeah.
Are all allegations equal, right? Like, are some allegations perhaps more weighty?
It's not the problem.
No, they're not. Let me finish my point. Gibbs, hold up. Pisco's opening. He went so far during his fucking 15-20 minute monologue.
It was
that
4
he
minutes.
said, if we're going off of alleged, He
No,
introduced
he's
the standard
misrepresenting
alleged
exactly.
at
I know
the
exactly.
beginning.
No,
I took notes.
so just to be clear, I know exactly what I said.
Now you're running.
What I said was with respect to
Gibbs, I was next.
what I said was with respect to Andrew McCarthy, and what his claim was that the amount of corruption, even compared to that which is alleged. And when I said alleged there, I didn't just mean any crazy person. I absolutely said alleged. As alleged by as alleged by
that's where we got.
Okay, so this is no. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna finish. So only a bad faith piece of shit 2 IQ moron like these two individuals would interpret when I say that to mean anything that someone says, including right now, if I just come up with a spot and say Trump did this, it's bullshit. It's bad faith. You know it. They're hacks.
Yeah, we understand that?
Yeah, it's bad faith.
When people, hold on, stop. I want to answer my questions. Are all allegations created equal? I think the obvious answer is no. Correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Rick.
But
also in our opening, I didn't say the standard verbatim was alleged. When we're talking about allegations in this context of this debate, we're going to assume that these allegations are credible allegations. I wouldn't bring up the allegation from some dude who DM'd me saying that Trump killed his dog, right? Like just randomly. I would just discount that. Like I would just discount that, even though it is technically an allegation. So when we're talking about allegations, we're talking about, and we could have talked about this during debate, but no one decided to, right? Like what is good? What is a credible allegation?
I made this point, Whick, and y'all cut me off. I made this point. My point was, he said verbatim, he didn't just do the little thing where he said, oh, in response to whatever. He also said the standard is alleged. That was his exact words.
What are you talking about?
So yeah, listen, you go back and watch the VOD if you want, but those were his exact words. And
what does that even mean? The standard is alleged.
That's a good question. Maybe you should have thought about before putting your own.
Yeah, no.
This is the point. Like, I mean, these verbatim what you said, and that's why I ran with the stupidity of why don't we just take everything out.
I was stupid because you misinterpreted what I said. It's very clear.
I'm gonna finish.
Gibbs, you drunk asshole.
I'm gonna finish. No, you can be mad because I caught you with your misphrased
There's no catching. There's no catching.
If you use words poorly,
the ethanol in your system has gone to your head, and you're. So just to be clear, I'll explain. So no. If you raise it. So the claim was very easy to understand for people whose blood alcohol content is in a normal range. It's easy to understand. So the claim is simple that the allegations it's very clear. It's very clear. I'm going to correct the record. It's very clear. It's very clear. It's very clear. It is very clear to anyone with a normal blood alcohol content that when I was saying that the scale of the corruption when I was using the term alleged, that what I was comparing, so it's very clear that when I was using the term, so it was very clear. 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 It was very clear when I was using the term alleged. When I was using the term alleged, it was in the context of comparing the magnitude of fraud and corruption done by one side, and that even the amount that is as alleged as to the Bidens as alleged in the formal allegations, that is not close to it.
Okay, $10 from Pondering Politics. Trump is underwater in every major policy area and every major poll, and is the most unpopular president in modern times. By his logic, Trump is entrenching himself in power over the will of the people. And I'm just going to keep going, right? $5.
There you go.
Round of applause to Stream Rift for giving the most MAGA-adjacent pandering definition of corruption, while Trump does nothing he was elected to do.
Yeah, even under his own definition. Even under his own definition.
No, you're not. Hold on. I'm just going to read these because you guys cannot be trusted to shut the fuck up and give a $5 answer to a $5 super chat. You just can't. None of you. You're all children. Okay? $10 from Star Wars and Bacon. How much do we need to donate to never hear Gibbs again? Give me $1,000 and I'll kick him from the panel right now. Dude doesn't understand basic English. $1,000. That's my price, Star Wars and Bacon. You can hit me up and we can figure that out. Pondering Paul and no, hold on. Never again? $10,000. Okay? $1,000 for a year ban. How's that? Okay. Pondering Politics for $10. The census counts all persons, not just citizens. It's been adjudicated by courts in SCOTUS. The last census was performed under Trump. Wrong on all counts.
Yep.
Thank you for the $10.
That's law.
$5 from Alishness. Insane Republicans complain about the census while they benefit overwhelmingly from the Electoral College. Are we agreeing
Absolutely true.
that is corruption?
No, the Electoral College is based.
$2 from Psychor. Did Lil Bro just drop a racial slur?
I think I heard
no,
one potentially of these, whatever he said about the states, the Democratic states.
Okay,
He seems to be a
don't
griper,
know.
so,
I'd have
yeah.
to go back and look. But just I'll say this: if you did say a racial slur, do not do that on my show. Okay.
Yeah, I don't do them on shows. I don't know if it was me.
Okay,
I
I
get
never
accused
said
of
a
it
racist
sometimes.
Hear it, but people are saying that you did, Stream Rift.
I think he said shit
Well,
skin.
I
Did you say
disavow.
shit? So I just want to be clear. Did you say
Yeah,
the term shit
it
skin?
was you, and you said
Stain.
shit skin. Yes,
Stain.
Okay.
Stain. A shit
stain.
stain.
No,
Like
alright.
when you don't wipe your ass.
you
shit stain.
definitely said skin. And I know my 4 chancellors, so I know what that means.
Okay. Don't do that.
What's
and
a
if you
new
do
one
it
for me?
again,
Griper
we're gonna
fast
have
as
a
fuck.
problem, Stream Rift. And by problem, I'm gonna kick you. Okay.
Oh.
$5 from Jay Shellman. Timo Andrew Wilson need more practice. Okay.
definitely
$20
do.
from C Goach to say, Wick, dude just said the slur multiple times. What the fuck kind of panel is this? So first of all, I don't think he said it multiple times. I didn't hear it when it happened, but people were saying it did. And enough people were saying it that it probably did. So do not do it again. Okay. $10 from Natural Phenomenon. If importing immigrants into a state is corrupt, does that mean Greg Abbott was corrupt when he bused immigrants to blue states? If that helped Dems, why did he do that?
Yeah.
Now, I do just have to interrupt slightly because we are over on time. I said, I think 20 minutes ago I'd leave 15. This is
Yeah.
shame on me. However, I wish to remain married, so I will go to dinner. But been a delight, everyone. Even you, Pisco. It's been nice.
Mhm.
Thanks so much. Catch you.
Thank you for being here. Bye-bye. Okay. $5 from Delay My Baby. Do you have any number you can tie to the DNC corruption to contrast against Trump? Also, are you comparing to all time versus a 2-term president?
Yeah, I mean, like they didn't raise any allegations against the DNC. They literally had no allegations against the DNC. None of this. The SPLC is in DNC. Individual politicians aren't DNC. They don't know what the DNC is, and so they just said DNC.
I mean, they're estimating right now. The estimates I've seen that we're ranging in fraud estimates of 250 to 500 billion a year. Some of the estimates I've seen, and so like if we're just going to credit that to the DNC, we just go back. I don't know.
What are you saying the DNC did? You
I
can't
mean,
even say it in like a complete sentence. The DNC did this, and now you can't even complete that sentence. What did the DNC do?
I can't, the reason I can't complete that sentence is because you've interrupted me every time I try to lay out one more step in like 10 seconds, even though you go out here and spur for like 20 minutes each time you talk. But sure, I can lay it out. Once again, they have encouraged illegal immigrants to come here. Then they've turned around and supplemented them with ID and given them a substandard status where they have a gray status individuals in certain places. Some places give them legal places to vote. That's corruption. Other places they have healthcare going to these people. That is corruption. We also have examples where they have this healthcare fraud going into these NGOs and then they're funded back and paid towards Democratic candidates. That's
Giving healthcare to illegal immigrants is corruption. Wait. Giving illegal. Wait. Why?
Interrupted.
Wait, why?
You asked me to lay out a case.
Wait, no. But wait, we can't itemize your list. We can't itemize your list.
Did I interrupt you when you gave 200 lists?
Yes. Hold on. No, all of you have been interrupting each other.
Sure,
So the answer
sure.
is, did you interrupt? Yes.
No,
you did.
hold on.
Except me, by the way. I was hanging
Deb,
out.
you've been a good boy.
So
Good
you
job.
gave like 200 things on your list. Every time I give more than one thing, I've gotten interrupted.
No, but you don't want to. No, this is what's going on, right? So like, yes, I have a big list. I have a big list. I have a big list, and I have a big list. I have a big list. So I had a big list. Gibbs, I had a big list for sure. I start in the opening. So in the opening, I made it clear that I'm okay with us not doing everything on the list, and I'm happy to take one at a time and focus on it. But when you say, for example, when you go through your list, when you go through your list and say illegal immigrants getting healthcare benefits from the government is corruption, I want to stop and interrogate that, and you don't want to let that happen.
Sure. Well, okay. Well, that's really convenient that you want to do that now. After you gish gallop the whole time, and every time I try to
No, hold on. No, stop.
This is true.
Gibbs,
this is what happened.
Stop.
You saved it. You saved it. You're saving them again, Wick.
No, I'm saving the content because we cannot address the claims.
Well, I can't even finish
keep
my
making
claims.
20 claims, and every time we try to drill down on one, you say, "Well, what about this other claim that I made?" Like, hold on, we got to
Well,
get.
I'm not even
one
doing that.
first.
I haven't got a chance to lay it on my
Now,
claim.
Pisco can be a little hyper autistic or hyper focused, I should say, and that's
The
again,
interruptions
way
are to
different
stop
than what you were
rambles.
saying.
The interruptions
Point.
are to stop rambles. That's what they're
But
designed
you
to do.
ramble the whole time.
No,
Like,
so-
what are you talking about?
Okay, but regardless, Gibbs, you still haven't answered the question that they paid me $10 to ask you. Does that mean if importing immigrants into states is corrupt, does that mean Greg Abbott was corrupt when he busted
Oh,
immigrants?
that's a different question than what I was just asked. But sure, no, because
He's
guess who
reading
brought
from
them
it.
here originally? Bro, you just asked a separate question about the how much billions overall was it, how far we go back. Now you're asking me about a
Wait,
different
wait,
super guy.
no. So you just added something
Hold
else.
on, I'm the drunk one.
You
You're
just
not
added-
talking. You don't even know what
You
question
just
you're
added
asking.
something.
You
No,
asked
no,
just
no.
asking
You just
different
added something
questions.
else. You just added something else. You said, well, because they weren't the ones
That
to
was on you. Now, you
you
asked
just
me about the
you
last
just
question,
added
and now
you
you're
just
asking me about this
you
question.
just added
Now I'm
you
getting ready-
you just
Oh
you
my
just
God.
added an additional fact.
We're gonna
You
be
said-
here all
no,
night.
you said
I'll answer your
you said
question. Okay,
you
go
said
ahead.
you said Abbott doesn't bear any responsibility for that because there was an initial harm done by the Democrats, right? That he is allowed to like sort of ship off those illegal immigrants someplace else because some initiating event, correct? That's what you just said? Why is it pulling teeth to get you to fucking answer a question? You guys are so scared
Did I
that I
just
have like
answer?
these prepared. Yeah, okay. So, but you like delay so long. Why isn't that just like obvious what your fucking opinion is? Okay. So the initial event is
I'm
them.
just making sure you were done.
So
So I didn't
the initial event is them crossing over the border, right?
I mean, that could be one of the initial events.
What is the thing that breaks the line of causality such that you attribute blame to Biden but not to Abbott? That's what the question is trying to inquire. And you don't want to answer. You're not going to engage. Okay, forget it then. Forget it.
Okay, $5 for
Okay.
This
delay my
is
baby.
crazy.
Do you have a
I mean,
number?
hold on. It's crazy that I can't answer this.
We already asked this, but I'll ask this again. Or lunatic thinker, why are we wasting time listening to PDF file worshippers miserably failing at trying to convince anyone that the Trump crypto is not corruption? Well, $5. That's a question you will have to answer for yourself. I don't know, but thank you for the $5. $5 from Firearms and Fitness. The amount of blind faith and cope on the side of Trump needs to be studied for future generations. Okay. $2 from Greg Gill. Petition to change the term to Gibbs Gallop.
Nice.
Okay. $5 from Alishness. Do Gibbs and Streamrift realize that they're on a debate panel? It seems like they prepared for an episode of Alex Jones with all of these conspiracies. $5 from the Skeletal Big. If we go by dollar amount, Trump is more corrupt than every other politician in the history of the USA combined. $10 from Admiral Love. What is the point of this when the Republican side is literally incapable of tracking the arguments of the Democrat side on a basic intellectual level?
On their own
$5 from
arguments too.
$5 from Greg Yell. Bottom left is so smug, but all he's done is conspiracy post and refused to provide any
That's
evidence.
Stream Refs. That's not me. That's Stream Refs.
Yeah, the different bottom left.
That's Stream Refs. Don't you try it, fucking Gibbs.
$5 from Vishy. Ask the conservative idiots their thoughts on Trump firing the inspector generals, I should say. Okay, Trump, what is your thought on
Gibbs,
Trump's firing of the inspector generals?
I am Trump. We are all Trump. No, I mean, I think that every administration should be able to enact the spoil system as they see fit. The Dems should be able to fire whoever they want to fire. The Republicans should be able to fire when they come into office. I don't think that's really
So
that
just a
any
follow-up
controversial.
You know what the
question from
spoil
me on
system
that.
is a
So you would
reference
be
to?
okay. So
Yeah,
you would
whatever.
be okay if
I
there
do know
was
it's
a
a
bunch
reference. What do you think it's a reference to?
That is a reference to I believe Andrew Jackson's practice of giving out positions to like members of his family and political supporters,
And how long is that?
as opposed to people who are competent, right? And that is exactly what is like
Sure.
this kind of nepotism. This is the thing that we like don't want, and that's why we want like bureaucrats who
Right.
know what they're doing.
that's
And so
a-
when you
that's an
reference the
argument.
spoil system, that's what you're invoking is something that most people would think is
Right.
like wrong.
Well, here's the thing: is it not just Andrew Jackson? It lasted for about about 100 years, and then even then, after it was gone per se, it's still basically what we do. We have people come in, you appoint people that you want in there, you fire people that aren't. This is something that's common in the practice. Now, the difference is our administrations have gotten so large that it's not the smaller organizations that were under Andrew Jackson. There's other people that can just fire half the administration and put in 1 million people. We have massive bureaucracies now, and it's not feasible to go in there, and we have lifelong employees. However, I think the spoil system is still relevant.
you're
this
like-
idea that we put people in there.
it
and
seems
I'm
like
okay
what you're
with
trying
that
to do-
at the higher level.
It seems like what you're trying to do is like basically also what you started your intro with to go back to like Tammany Hall, but like Tammany Hall was
it's
corrupt
Tammany
as
Hall.
fuck.
That's what y'all are
And if you
doing.
want to talk about,
Yeah, y'all love Tammany Hall.
if you no, but you okay? So you have a problem with Tammany.
You were confused about
so
that.
you have a no. You check the tape on that. Check the tape. Check the tape on that. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Check the tape on that. But so to be clear, you think that Tammany Hall is bad, right? Tammany Hall's bad.
Yeah. Tammany Hall's bad. And it's institutionalized corruption, just like the Democratic Party,
just like the Republican Party, right?
Level. No.
So has Trump done anything corrupt that you can identify? One thing.
Trump is a populist. He's not the National Republican Party.
No, can you name one thing? Is there one thing that you would say Trump was corrupt?
Sure,
I can tell you things that Joe Biden did that I thought were corrupt.
Yeah, let's go with the slush fund. Yeah, I don't like the slush fund. It's not my favorite thing. Let's say that's corruption.
Okay. $5 from
I'm not dying outhill.
Was the Civil War corrupt based on the Gremlins' logic?
Well, I'm assuming you're talking to me because I'm the only Republican, and it seems like, I would argue that once again, no, it wasn't. And it established federalism. It's a concept that Pisco doesn't seem to like, and he likes the local states to like be able to do things over the federal government.
Do you realize that you made the point?
He's not being corruption.
So you made the point that federal law is supreme, which is a true point. But
so
I was the one.
Federal immigration law.
No. But the whole point of the sanctuary cities policy is premised on this notion of federalism and anti-commandeering. And you're going against that when you say they don't have the right to. That is
like sanctuary city for like, I don't know, machine guns. Would that be allowable?
Wait, machine?
Yeah, kind of.
Machine gun gun policies, yes. Now, machine guns are banned across the nation because there is a federal hook there.
And so it's illegal.
But there is a federal hook there. But here's what you can't do. Here's what you can't do. Right? You cannot commandeer state police officers to enforce federal law against their desires. Right? You can't commandeer them to enforce your executive policies.
The executive could not step in and force the local PD or the local officials to cooperate if they went to go in to find ban guns or something. They can't.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy because that sounds similar to like, we can't make this mob guy rat on his homies. That's called corruption as well.
I don't. Hold
on.
They have a Fifth Amendment. Of course you can't.
That doesn't make
okay, that's built into the Constitution.
Yeah, you're saying random shit, dude. That's quite crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, let's keep going because we got a lot of these. Thank you for the money, gang. But god damn. Okay. $2 from Echem. Pisco, is it Chilean or Peruvian?
Peruvian.
Okay, cool.
I'm American,
Cruiser
but
25. This is
Peruvian.
Dev.
That explains a lot. The difference between Peruvian cocaine and Colombian cocaine is very key.
I'm not a cocaine user, but you would know.
$5 from Cruiser.
Based on how you talk, I doubt that.
Dev, what is your key point of corruption Trump or his administration has committed, i.e. the biggest flaw?
I mean, for me, it has to be the crypto stuff, just because there's so much money that the number is astronomically huge.
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
So, you agree that that's like a outside the government. The government itself didn't do the crypto scheme.
No, you're wrong. So here's how they're involved intimately, right? So here's the yes, you're correct that the World Liberty Financial and the Trump meme coin, those are private enterprises. So you're correct on that. But the money that they're getting, both schemes, is government money. And what they're getting in return for the United Arab Emirates are like transactional deals on technology, access to American technology and deals they didn't have before. For Qatar specifically, they're now like this executive memo that treats them like NATO, that an attack on Qatar is an attack on America. So they're getting benefits from the government.
Our allies?
No, they're getting benefits from this administration that is newfoundly in crazy support for all these Arabs in Gulf states.
The reason why, even though it is private, the reason why it's private
Okay,
organizations, right, that might be collecting this money, but it's still involving the government, is because Trump is the head of the government, and he is using that as leverage to bring in money for his personal corruption. It absolutely.
That's why he's getting billions.
Hold on,
why else would he be getting those billions? Why else would he get that money?
There's more to this. There's more to this as well, because Trump has directed his DOJ to stop investigating crypto fraud.
Yes.
So wait, hold on. So
he disbanded that agency.
Two questions, real quick. So y'all basically laid out that he might be enriching himself, right? Let's just say he is, right?
However, not my. He
is enriching himself. The report was $2 billion. Gibbs.
Okay, hold on. Once again, now is he in direct control of his finances?
What do you mean by that? In some respects, yes.
Well, it's usually like when you're president, you give up your stuff, so no conflict.
He has underlings, but I'm sorry. So ultimately, he signs off.
Hold on, hold on. I'm just making sure that he doesn't.
He
directly,
overall,
make
so overall, he's in control. He has control. He could change this as much as he wants, and so that's why, for example, he's directing, and the White House is directing certain deals, right? So one of the deals on the one that I brought up, Vulcan Technologies, on this like mineral organization that Donald Trump Jr. was involved in. He directed the Defense Department to get involved there, so he is controlling his assets. Now, he might not oversee everything down to the minute detail. He delegates for sure. But overall, the schemes are his, and he's read in on them.
So hold on. So you're basically what it sounds like to me, because this is the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as he's running the successful, what they call a pork barrel project. And if you study political science, you know what a pork barrel project is. And so what we're seeing here is what he's done is he's pushed a crypto legislation agenda, which is something that I think is a good thing. Many do think is. And then they have
he's deregulating. He's deregulating.
Yeah, right, because that's a good thing. If you're sort of
to not enforce securities laws, to not enforce fraud laws. He's not. No,
we have too many regulations.
What Dev just said was true.
Burgeoning industry. I agree, but I'm saying he's pushing an agenda that wants crypto to like splurge. It wants to go boom to the moon.
How is
rug pulling? How is rug pulling with the meme coin helping crypto?
Bitcoin is up today, by the way. Because
but how is rug pulling his? How is doing this rug pull? This massive rug pull. You have to acknowledge it was a rug pull. You don't think it was a rug pull?
They all start making money. I don't think it was a rug pull.
This is what I mean about like you guys get stuck on $5 super chats. That was a $5 super.
Well, just real quick, Gibbs, you've seen this, right?
Then I gotta go
here. The Binance founder who was pardoned by Trump holds 87% of Trump's stablecoin. How is this not some kind of quid pro quo?
Sure. Let me ask you this: how many? Like, if you this would be surprising, but I am somewhat familiar with the crypto. This seems to be like not crypto in general. Is crypto like seems to have most of these coins are held by like a exclusive large group, and they'll release it in like amounts over time.
That's not what Dev is telling you right now. So Dev, Dev, that's not the point that Dev is pointing to. Dev is pointing to Dev is pointing to the fact. No, you're not addressing what Dev is saying. It's a filibuster.
You don't even know what I'm addressing.
No, because I can hear what you're saying. It's not addressing Dev's point.
I will read the top line.
You're a mind reader. We need to be a Professor Xavier over here, boys. He can read minds.
I will read the top line for you, okay? Binance holds about 87% of USD1, the stablecoin issued by a Trump family crypto venture, a greater concentration than any other major stablecoin has at a single exchange, underscoring the depth of the financial relationship between Binance, whose founder Trump pardoned in October, and World Liberty Financial, which already has that. Yeah. So listen, and Trump pardons this guy. This guy's making tons of money off of Trump crypto. Is there not some corruption happening here?
Oh, and pause. One additional factor: the UAE specifically lobbied for his pardoning as well because they want to bring a Binance to the UAE. It's all there.
Well, listen. Pardoning is supposed to be a tool that helps heal America, and in this sense, gives us an advantage in crypto. How is this any different than Operation Paperclip? This guy might be a piece of shit fraudster, and we can
I'm gonna keep going.
That's crazy. That's crazy what you just said.
Hold on. Does rocketry help us get to the moon?
Okay, this is just okay. Greg,
are these coins going to the moon, or are they getting dumped?
A lot of
I don't know. We'll see.
$2 from Greggio. Dev, you're allowed to talk sometimes. $5 from the pleb. Gibbs and Rift clearly went to school at the Quality Learning Center due to the sheer stupidity of their arguments. Pisco,
they need some more leering.
Okay. $10 from B. Trump never stopped being a Democrat and is setting the justification and precedent for 100 years the USA as a Nordic model government. Not the hero Gotham wanted, but the hero it needed.
That's an interesting argument. You could say, well, no, the Democrats have been more corrupt because Trump is a Democrat. But obviously he's a registered Republican. He ran on the Republican ticket.
Odd Maidan Productions. The sharpest arrow in a conservative's quiver is I actually don't know what that word means. So I assume it means bad for $5. Okay.
Yep. That's bad.
For $5. Why don't we know who attended Trump's crypto dinner? $5 from Natural Phenomenon.
Some people who go to the dinners, we do know. It just depends which one. There've been so many, and there's so much Mar-a-Lago related corruption too. It's not just the crypto stuff either.
Pondering Politics says, what happened to the last stream? Is it not? I'll look at that. It should still be up. Should still be live. There was a internet interruption that had to. Yeah, anyway, it was text chat. Okay. $5 from Natural Phenomenon. There is no evidence of undocumented immigrants being sworn into office. They got citizenship before they ran. Trump cultists will lie like crazy.
And when they lie too, it
from
doesn't even further their point because the examples they brought up weren't sanctuary city regimes or were like not what they claimed that it was. It's insane.
We're so close to the end here. Okay. $5 from Alishness. The Iowa school board was not election fraud. You don't elect a superintendent. They are hired administratively. They need to lie to get to a point. Some school boards operate differently.
Maybe this
others.
is the Des Moines superintendent thing. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the Des Moines superintendent thing. We didn't get into it. I did find the information on it though, and the TLDR of it is that like this guy ended up having an extensive criminal record. He lied about having a master's degree in education. He was rejected for a green card multiple times. He basically spent like 20 or 25 years lying, and he was eventually caught. I don't think this is evidence of democratic corruption here.
Hold on. There were several prominent Democrats in local and the state level that came out and supported him before all the facts came out.
So how is that corrupt?
That was
did you say they
before
were
the facts
victims?
came out.
Didn't you just say they would be victims? You were yelling at me.
Well, hold on, Gibbs.
Different.
Gibbs, you said it was before the facts came out, so they didn't.
You just
before
said
the
that.
facts became public. which may be a better way to say it.
No, they didn't know.
However, based off the pattern, because pattern recognition thing, this seems to be like something they would have pushed forward. Oh, come on, bro. Like,
look at the standard applied. Look at the standard applied to the superintendent race.
Look at the
standard. Look at the standard applied by Gibbs in the superintendent race.
I understand.
Let me go on. So the standard that you applied in the superintendent case, in assuming bad faith, but with Binance, it's like, oh, well, he just really wants to have good crypto. That's why he had to make $1 billion off this scheme, World Liberty Financial. That's what think about, like what we could do with our science if he didn't do this.
Yeah, that's
okay. Hold on, just real quick. We do have more super chats, but I know that Gibbs needs to go soon to another show. Storm Wolf, Twink here.
Hey, what's up?
Did pay me?
Twink.
Yeah,
it's a nickname.
It's a solid
did
name.
pay me to come and ask you some questions. So go ahead, ask your question.
First of all, fuck you, and Streamer Gibbs. Second of all, Gibbs, are you aware of the recent trades that we found out happened? So you remember Liberation Day, we had those tariffs, right? Mm-hmm. And then on April 9th, the tariffs were relieved. A day before all of Trump's accounts, there were 327 new investments. Some of them were in stuff like steel, which were directly going into like the things that were going to be relieved by the tariffs. Do we think that was corruption? He artificially brings down stock prices, invests, and then you see a massive boom because he reopens these tariffs. Do we think that's corruption?
I would say I need to see more evidence. If that's corruption, then all the insider trading in Congress is also corruption. And there's a real easy solution for this, brother. It's
stop.
It's called the autopilot.
It's a simple question. Stop. It's a simple quick. It's a simple question. It is corruption. Thank you. It is corruption, right?
It is corruption. But just so you know,
but if you buy the
just so you know, in
that's
1 year, Trump has made more money on the stock market than Pelosi has in 25.
Exactly. This is another thing. When we talk about corruption, and Rick kept talking about how the DNC had so much corruption, you were comparing an organization of so many people over so long time, and it still doesn't reach the scale of what Trump has done in like a year and a half. Number two, the Qatar jet you lied about earlier. You said it's going to his presidential library, and then you said it's saving him money. Oh, well, it's going to his presidential library. You know that, right? It's going to his presidential library.
One of them's going to become Air Force One now. It's one of the Air Force Ones.
No, it goes into his presidential library at the end of the term.
Yeah, they're not
and then we have to
use it
refurbish
anymore.
Air Force One again. So we're not able to use it. So we're not saving money.
So
and they got NATO level protection for it. Wait, Gibbs, you know they got NATO level protection right after that, right?
Yeah, why not? She's been assassinated, attempted like
Qatar, who funds Hamas, Qatar who funds terror cells across the
Don't you support the Iran war and you support Israel? You're like an Israel guy, right?
I'm really more of the whoever makes me the most money guy, and if we could sell money,
you're corrupt, just like your daddy, daddy.
Pisco. Can I just grill him on this?
Yeah.
First of all, Qatar funds Hamas. Second of all,
sure.
Why are we giving them NATO?
It's Qatar, by the way. Qatar. Have you ever been to Qatar? I've been to Qatar.
I don't give two shits. Answer the fucking question.
Well, I will say this because if you look at our relationship with Qatar, all the way back to Bush Senior, right? Bush Senior was a former CIA head director, and then there's Texas A&M. Texas A&M has a school there, and where he also has a presidential library in College Station. Why do you think that is? Do you think the former? No, hold on. What does Qatar do for America? Qatar is basically the guy that we go in there and have them talk to all these countries that hate us, right? They talk to all like Iran.
They also fund terror cells. Why would we give them? Why would we give them NATO protection when they're just going to use that to fund further terror cells?
This is just soft power in a
cool. I don't want to give soft power to people who are actively funding hard power against it. Number one, but number two, you acknowledge that they're not getting any. Wait, stop. You acknowledge. Wait, so one, you acknowledge you were wrong by the Air Force One claim. This won't be Air Force One because it goes into his presidential library, which is
Based. I'm okay with that too. I think it's
cool. But then you fucking
rather
lied.
burn
Number one.
it.
Number
I'd
two,
rather burn
there is
it.
no
Fine.
benefit to the United States. There's only benefit to Trump because he can still use that when it's in his presidential library. The United States government cannot.
Wait, hold on. So they're already in talks to replace Air Force One. They were already in the process of doing
It
it.
not
will end because
addressing
it's
what
going to
he's
his presidential
saying.
library at the end of his term.
Dude,
Hold
kick
on,
this
is that true
motherfucker
or
off,
not?
Gibbs. Just leave.
Is that true?
You're not
Is that
worth
true or
talking
not?
to.
I mean,
Just
I'm-
fucking leave.
Wait, no,
You need to
I want to talk to him.
I'm sorry,
You
I'm
understand
sorry.
that
Saying
once it
that.
goes to his presidential library, it can no longer be used as Air Force One, correct?
Well, hold on.
You
I
know
don't
that,
know for
right?
sure. I'm going to need to see evidence of that. But two, I mean, that may be true. I'm not going to dispute that.
That's their
However, is it
plan.
being used-
That's their plan. That's their
Is
plan.
it being used in Air Force One now?
It doesn't matter because you said it would save us money. It doesn't save us money because
And
no,
then Air
it
Force One
doesn't
was
matter
already
because it's a
being
matter of
refurbished.
corruption.
That was a big thing.
Just leave,
Okay.
dude.
Okay.
If it's Trump's
embarrassing.
personal, sorry, I'm just gonna finish.
I mean,
If this
listen,
is
I
Trump-
can
wait,
only-
stop,
I
stop,
know
stop,
it's a
stop,
game.
stop, you don't know what you're
Dude,
talking about.
address
You're
Gibbs.
retarded. You stop. If this is going to be used by Trump under this term, which you said would save us money, but then it's going to his presidential library, it doesn't save us money. It is a personal gift to Trump that is then being used in exchange for NATO-level protection. How is that not corruption at an
I mean, it's not.
unprecedented level,
Dude,
unprecedented
we
event?
protect former presidents all the time with like using a service.
That's not what you're being. That's not what you're being asked about. Protection. That's not what you're being asked about. What you're asked about is the fucking plane.
I've already used the cutter thing. I think it's a soft power where you go moving to transactional.
So we got.
soft
Wait, do
power.
you acknowledge that the
cutter works
corruption?
for us.
Do you all acknowledge that the protection came after he got the plane that is going to be for his personal use and then retired after this term? If that is true, is that not
As well as the
corruption?
base. As well as the base.
3 years of
If this
using
is
the
true,
plane,
wait, how
we're
about this?
already
If everything I
replacing
said
the
is
plane?
true, is it corruption? If everything I said is true, is it corruption?
No.
If.
Okay, you're
Okay,
fucking
so
retarded.
whatever.
so just
What
leave,
is
just leave.
corruption?
Okay.
Wait,
Wait,
fine.
it's
One last
Gibbs.
thing. One last thing. One last thing.
One last
The
thing
Eric
I gotta
Adams
agree
incident.
with.
The Eric Adams incident. Eric Adams had
Adams.
federal prosecution coming up. Trump said, if you help us with immigration, we'll remove these charges. Is that not corruption? Is that not a dereliction of duty to not actually engage in a federal prosecution of one of the most openly corrupt mayors in
Democratic
American
mayors.
history?
Yeah.
He's a Democratic mayor, huh?
Okay, but Trump does a quid pro quo.
Yes,
to
with
dismiss
a-
those
with a-
charges,
with a
which
corrupt
Biden's
Democratic
admin was
mayor.
prosecuting.
Yes, with a corrupt Democratic mayor, they do a quid pro quo. Tom Homan is on TV on Fox News. You can see it all there, black and white. You have Scalia clerks who are working for the Department of Justice, just like lifelong appointees, saying this is corrupt. You have all manner of evidence that this is corruption. You have the judge coming out and saying, unfortunately, my hands are tied. I have to dismiss it with prejudice, because what they were planning on doing was holding this over Mayor Adams' head to make sure that he was compliant. And you say it's not corruption?
Well, hold on. Let's look at this real quick. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the case, but let's just say they go all the way through and he's convicted. All right, and then Trump goes, or before we're convicted, Trump goes, you know what? I'm going to give you a pardon for this date to this date.
Yeah.
Would you say that's corruption?
Yes.
So if I gave you a pardon
I'll
for
tell
all
you
the
why.
time you were here,
I'll tell you
gave a
why.
pardon?
I'll tell you why, because my notion of corruption, you haven't
that's
explained
corruption.
what you. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll tell you why. So if the pardon is done for an improper purpose, that is to say, for personal or political gain, or to get compliance with a different sovereign using the criminal justice system, as opposed to convincing people, as opposed to other legitimate means available to him, if he's using his awesome might as head of the Department of Justice, really on his own view of unitary executive, if he's doing that to extract those purposes, of course it's corruption. On your view, I guess no pardon can ever be corrupt. Yes, I do. Yes, I agree.
Oh,
Yes, so
cool.
to be
That's
honest with
my
you,
point.
so yes, I agree that the Biden pardon of
I
his
agree,
son.
I agree.
No, you agree with that, but you won't grant other pardons by Trump are corrupt.
I don't agree that it was corrupt.
Yeah. So to be clear,
Gibbs, hold on, please.
I came on here many times on Whick show,
you.
and I said it was not corrupt for him to pardon his son.
Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
Gibbs, hold on, Gibbs. You understand?
Gibbs,
you understand
let me
that
show
when
it to
you
you,
say.
Gibbs. Wait, hold on. Here,
Yeah.
I got something real quick. So Gibbs,
Let
let
me
me
get
show
this
it to
out.
you, okay?
Let me get this out.
Well, trust me, Wick. Trust me, okay? I'm just going to show it to you, okay? Here, look at read this, Gibbs, okay?
Yeah,
The
I think
Justice
it's
Department
not
has
good.
moved to dismiss corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, one day after Adams agreed to provide ICE access to Rikers Island jail.
Yeah,
How is
I
this
mean-
not corruption?
Well, first of all, they should have been providing the access.
That's
to
not
the
the
jail.
question.
That's
Sure.
how that works out. Yeah.
Sure.
How is
there
it
should be.
corruption, though?
But two, once again, I want to come back to the pardon thing. I said the Biden thing was not corruption then, and Wick, you can vouch for that. I was here.
So
Yeah,
using
but
your
can you
your
answer
office
me
for
now?
so
This I don't.
Is this corruption?
Yes.
I mean, what? Why is this corruption exactly? If
I'll
you
tell
sit
you
there
why.
and
Dev,
people
explain
forward-
why it's
Dismissing
corruption.
a
Go through it.
legitimate charge
hold on.
for the sake of
Let
getting a
Dev do it.
political
Let Dev
gain.
do it.
Yeah.
Let Dev do it. Dev,
Well, no,
fine.
Twink here is doing a good job.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
So, have you ever offered? Have they ever? Is a plea deal corruption?
No, not necessarily.
A
No.
plea deal is a part of our legal system. This is saying I'm going to dismiss charges that are being brought because you
Conditioned
committed a crime,
on actions.
not because of a valid legal reason, but because
Okay.
I want a political win. That is
And
that is
now, can you tell me the fundamental?
Wait, to be clear, if you thought
Yes.
the illegal immigration thing was because it was padding the votes is corruption,
You know
how
what I'm
is this
saying.
not corruption? It's for
Yes.
a political benefit that you think is an improper action. The difference
Once
is
again,
this is
Here's the difference, though. I don't see a fundamental difference between a plea deal and a dismissing charges.
Wait, what are you getting?
Hold on, Gibbs.
Wait, stop.
Gibbs, stop.
I need to answer this question. What would Trump get if he told his DOJ to offer a plea deal? What is the response you get? A plea deal is just saying, "Hey, you do this, you
Plead
get a
guilty in
minimal
exchange
sentence."
for this
You're
sentence.
not
Or no
exactly one,
contest.
so you still get the guilty charge, which is
Or no
important.
contest.
But
No
two,
contest.
wait, first of all, you still get the guilty charge. Secondly, you don't get a benefit. You don't get some reward as the DOJ or the government. The government is getting a reward from
here's
this.
here's the point. Wait. And here's you ask, like, what makes this different than like a plea bargain where you're giving some testimony to some other people, right? Or you're giving some other benefit and you're solving another
Or
crime. Let's say.
access,
This is the difference,
or
right?
informing.
Eric Adams' authority as mayor
Deporting
is.
illegals.
Wait, let me answer what you asked the question, like, how is this any different? I'm telling you, right? Eric Adams' official authority as mayor is not his to bargain for his personal freedom and safety. He holds that position in trust, and anyone in the federal government, including and especially members of the DOJ, would know that. You can't trade away something that's not yours in exchange for benefits to yourself.
Good.
That is the quintessential aspect of corruption that you seem to be missing.
Hold on. Here's the difference, though. Trump's job, here's the guy with the DOJ, and especially Tom Homan. I don't agree with this. I think that this is not something nice. I think it's kind of gross. However, I don't think it rises to corruption because, one, Trump's duty to the American people that voted him in is to prosecute immigration. And if this gets him more of that prosecution, then that's going to be him following through.
So even
That
if
is
it
not
entails,
corruption. That is the Americans'
so
will.
let's start with Eric Adams. You agree that Eric Adams is corrupt in leveraging his authorities as
Eric
mayor?
Adams is corrupt.
No. Is that action corrupt? Yes or no?
Yeah, that would be corrupt in Eric
Okay.
Adams'
So that action, so we're building a tower. You just granted that action by Eric Adams. Eric Adams is leveraging his authority in exchange for a personal benefit. Is Trump doing something that necessarily corrupts a city under the jurisdiction of the United States? Is that corrupt as well? So let me finish it. Asking a mayor to do something that you know to be corrupt is not corrupt. Why?
Yeah, because it's a similar precedent to like having the IRS collect taxes from drug dealers. Yeah, because you declare undeclared thing, you know it's from criminal activity.
I think the best thing to do is just go through corruption examples and to show how insane their standard is. I mean, this is the most obvious level of corruption in any admin. Shut the fuck up. Don't care about any of this. This is the most obvious level of corruption we've ever seen from any admin. You don't give two shits about corruption. You don't care about DNC.
You just said asking the president asking.
By the way, you bitch about policy failures as an example of corruption, and then when someone's doing a quid pro quo deal, when someone's doing literally insider trading, you'll be bragged about stuff.
So first of all,
you probably don't know shit about that.
So first of all, they did indicate they were going to change the policy. But second of all, you just said that the president asking for corruption you said the president asking for corruption isn't itself corrupt. How can that possibly be? How can it be that the president asking for something he knows?
But the U.S. government works with corrupt people all the time to accomplish political goals. Like we do it foreign
Do they tell them they can go scot-free? Do people usually go scot-free?
Yes, all the time they do this. All the time they do this.
They do it for personal gain. Is that bad?
Listen,
let's say the DOJ. Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal." Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal, so you campaign for me." Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal, so you campaign for me." Would that be corrupt? Wait, answer that question. Would that be corrupt? Would that be corrupt? Hey, Gibbs, would that be corrupt?
I don't even know what your question is.
Let's say a district attorney offers a plea deal and in return says, "You plead guilty and you better go campaign for me." Would that be corrupt?
That's corrupt.
Okay. At least you have some standard. Do you think offering a plea deal to get unauthorized access to Rikers Island would be corrupt?
No, because once again, this is not for the y'all keep putting this forward.
Because no, there's a
It's so
difference.
retarded.
There's a difference. Hold on. This is your standard. You just put forward personal gain. Okay. The
Yes,
argument
Trump
that I
got
make,
personal
okay,
gain from it. He got to
hold on.
enforce his immigration policy.
Okay,
He would not have been able to do otherwise.
Hold on. Actually, thank you for proving my point. That is not personal gain. That
Yes, it
actually
is. It is a political personal
no,
gain.
hold on.
He did not have the authority to get Rikers Island abstinent. So he said, I'm going to leverage a charge against you and say, you better do this or I'm going to, these charges are going to continue. If you don't do it, I'm going to do it. That is a definition of the quid pro quo deal that are often excluded. He's improperly carrying out justice. He's saying, I'm not going to bring legitimate charges against you in order so I can get some benefit.
Here's the thing, and this is where I think we're having the big issue. You're saying him enacting his policy is personal gain, although he
methodology. You guys always do the hard thing. You only look at the action itself without looking at the methodology. You could maybe get access to ICE detention centers legitimately using charges against someone, a mayor, to try and get access to like facilities is almost certainly improper and dereliction of duty.
I agree. It is
dereliction of duty.
It is by the mayor, and so we incentivize them to do it to enforce national policy that the American people voted in.
Yeah, you're defining your way against the policy. So you're saying well, because of course anything that Trump does is he believes is in the best interest of the country.
I'm gonna read the ones directed to Gibbs. The super chats directed to Gibbs right before you leave. $20 from Eddie Bombay. Trump deregulated vaccines with Operation Warp Speed. High five me through the screen, Gibbs. Okay. $10 from Eddie Bombay. Trump deregulated use of glyphosate on crops. Gibbs, high five again, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that a high five? Actually, that's a good thing. But
and let me see.
I feel like that's something I'm uniquely qualified for.
I'm looking. I hope I don't
Real quick,
miss any.
Gibbs. Did you just argue for Qatari soft power when you spent last week's debate with me arguing against USAID soft power?
Yeah, that was crazy. So no, it's a joke.
That was a joke. Okay.
So you think so when America plays both sides of the war on terror, you think that's a joke, and that's just like whatever.
Like, no, I don't think that's a joke. I think we should have soft. I think we should give NATO protection to a country that's funding terror attacks against us and our allies. It's a wild statement.
Well, hold on. The problem is, I think what Trump has done is move towards more of a Don Rowe style doctrine.
Yeah, one more.
This is a made up term that means
we got one more for you, Jim.
Well, if you disagree, check out my video on
they paid me money, and I don't want to be corrupt. I don't want to be corrupt. I don't want to defraud my super chatters. Okay, they paid me money to ask you this question. Would the pro-Trump side of this panel admit that Trump is the most corrupt individual in all USA political history in terms of financial gain, if not the entire DNC, or no?
Yeah, I wouldn't admit that. I'm still going with Ulysses S. Grant, most corrupt, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I know you have to go.
I do. Also, and if you want to hear more about the Don Rowe Doctrine, I just did a video. It's very interesting. We have a PowerPoint and everything explaining Fortress America, the Don Rowe Doctrine. Check it out. It's on Admiral Gibbs on YouTube. All right. Thanks for having me, guys. It was very fun. I'm going to go do a watch party for the social.
Bye-bye.
Be good.
Okay. I'm going to read the rest of these chats.
Can I make one quick ask of you? One quick ask of you.
Dude, that guy has to drop like a mumble rap album or something.
One quick ask of you, Whick. For these panels in the future, you need to define terms like corruption ahead of time.
They'll just change it. Like I've tried to do that. People ignore the definition.
Okay.
They don't.
I thought I suggested. No, that's fair. You have more experience. I thought I suggested.
It doesn't matter. Like you'll get them to agree to a definition, and then they'll bring up another one when you get into the.
Or they'll just refuse to engage if you try to clarify your semantics. So like I try to do that with Ryan on clarifying semantics, and he's just like, it's whatever you think it means. It's like, okay, it's pointless. They're obviously bad faith acts.
It's insane to have like policy failure. And I
agree.
I know
you're right.
I hang out on Wick server. I knew he was gonna do like immigration corruption.
Yeah, that's all I have. No, you're not wrong about that. They just they're not honest, and so they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. It is what it is, gang. But I do think that these are useful, and I'll say this as kind of the ending before I read the rest of Super Chats. You guys can leave if you need. I think that these things are useful to see the non-answers, right? To see them obfuscate, to see them dodge, to see them not actually address what is being brought up. I think people who are honest in looking at this can see that kind of behavior, and it does sway them against that. I think when people see someone who is dishonest, unless they're already on the team, it tends to turn them off. And so that's why I think that these are useful, even if you think that, oh, these people just dodged the whole time. I still think it's worth having.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know it's frustrating though. I get it.
I wasn't saying I also wasn't saying don't host these panels. I just wanted to have more. I was just trying to make a suggestion for more
I
clarity.
know,
but
I
also
get it. And we try different things.
Yeah.
And like tomorrow we're gonna have Soy Pill versus Deej. And I think that both of those people will have. I think that Deej will engage differently than.
I think it'll be
Gibbs
fun.
does. So, should be interesting. Tune in for that. What else does everyone else get? Well, Pisco, what do you got coming up? Are you going to LibCon,
Oh,
Pisco? I'm just real curious.
LibCon? No, I wasn't
Yeah.
invited. I have a big trip coming up in a few weeks, but no, I was never invited to LibCon, bro. You gotta get your.
It doesn't like. Yeah, you can just go. Like you don't.
Oh, you
have
can
to
just
be
go. Where is it?
invited. It's in DC.
When is it?
16th and the 17th. It's a bunch
really
of people
soon.
coming, and like you can just
I'll
go.
see about it. I'll see about it. I know people.
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean,
Yeah.
like it'd be nice.
I know it would be nice to connect with people. I appreciate everyone. And listen, I get angry and animated with this because fuck, I love my country. I love, I was really gutted when America lost yesterday against Belgium, and because I just want to see this place succeed. I want to see America be the best, and I get very passionate about it. And so when I see, whether it's in soccer, Trump corruption edging its way in, or when I see our country being like dragged down by these degenerates, it makes me mad. Like the fact that people can come up here and just bald face just say random shit that they either haven't looked into or just like spitball. And at one point it's like, wait, you said something about Oakland, right? And they're just like, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or they're just lying. It just makes me mad, and it just like brings out my passion. And maybe I yell too much or whatever, or interrupt, but I'm just trying to keep them on track. Because if you just let them go, they'll just start talking about every policy and trans stuff. They try to do it. And so there has to be a way to finagle the conversation in a way. And I appreciate though, Whick, that you're still doing these panels. For me, it's hard to get MAGA people and Trump people to actually engage and to come into debate. I don't know where they are. I'm trying to find them.
Yeah, one of the problems is that when you do try to force them to answer questions and actually like guide the discussion, they'll claim, "Oh, you're just helping the other side," and it makes it impossible. Like they will only go to places where they are able to bully the moderators to doing what they want. And when you don't allow that to happen, you're seen as a biased moderator. And that's a frustrating event.
And I appreciate also Dev. Dev, thank you so much for like doing the fact checks in real time. Those fact checks should have been devastating. No problem. They should have detonated in their minds and like been devastating.
And they did devastate them.
Yeah, but they just move on like nothing happened. Like we just didn't see them implode, and that Dev didn't just like absolutely annihilate them. And then at some point, the streamer guy goes and he's like, "I feel like I can have a reasonable conversation with you, Dev. I feel like you've been and like." Dev has just repeated the same question he just asked about evidence for like the 10th time, as though like he hasn't just been crushed. It's crazy.
Well, their definition of a reasonable conversation is like a polite conversation, and then conversation where you guys are like, it's like agreeing to disagree the entire time, never actually having like a moving and like ideas like, hey, you're wrong.
I'm actually very surprised that Streamrift even did this, because for a while he had blacklisted me over my political violence take. So I'm surprised he showed up at all.
Yeah, you should rethink that, by the way. You should rethink that, by the
way. Nah.
Interesting. Well, to be clear, I invited him, like, so I guess a little behind the scenes things. Pondering Politics asked me to set up a debate on this topic, right? And he wanted to see Pisco or Dev and Pisco, or Dev and I forget the other one he suggested. But he wanted to see those people. Oh, Dev and Destiny, one of those two, right? And he wanted to see them versus MAGA's strongest soldiers. So I tried to get Rob. I tried to get what's his face, Ryan. I tried to get a few others, but yeah, they just, again, there's no interest in this topic from that side.
Yeah, I tried to get Ryan. He wouldn't do it again.
I know. well, you say again, but like officially, the topic in your guys' conversation was not corruption. It was like about
I understand.
Court packing, and he wouldn't want to do that either. It's crazy.
No, he didn't want to. He didn't want to talk to me again in general, basically.
Oh, because you want him dead or something?
I don't want him
allegedly.
Dead,
allegedly.
I thought he did it because his claim, as I understand it, is that you were drama frogging because he retweeted something that you think he shouldn't have.
No. His claim was
wrong?
that.
Okay, maybe.
I have to retract my claim that he's a liar before he will talk to me again.
When he
But I
literally
do
admitted
think
to
he's a
lying.
liar, and-
He literally admitted to it. I don't know what
and
to
I'm not
say.
going to retract that. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well that's fair. I mean, like, look, I'm never going to force someone to be on a panel that they don't with someone they don't want to be on with, and it is what it is. Okay, well.
Also, I kind of find that whole "you insulted my honor" thing to be kind of lame. It's like, no, Ryan, I think you're a liar, and we can still debate. Like,
Sure.
you think I'm a liar? It's fine. I don't fucking care.
Okay, $5 from Pottering Politics says, I personally like Gibbs, but Pisco got him on the 2024 election. LOL. $5 from Rien is a fish. Generally, what is the point of having Gibbs on the panel if he's just going to get smashed and yell incoherently over everyone else? I think we went over that already. It's a good demonstration. You can disagree with that if you'd like. $5 from Potter Tor. Gibbs think he is Hugh Hefner, but he's just a huge effer. Okay. $10 from Dr. Adam Brigadier General. To quote a very smart Kenyan, corruption isn't bad. Corruption is only bad when I'm not involved. That's
saw that
exactly
clip.
how this panel.
It's
That's
a
exactly
funny
how
clip.
this panel is acting right now, except for Dev and Wick. Okay.
Wait, when did
from
I say
Tesla
that I'm okay
Johnson,
with corruption when it benefits me? I'm not okay with that.
$2 from Tesla Johnson. Bias moderator. Pisco is lying. You got to be a little more specific.
He's specific. There's no ever specific thing.
I know him. He's just shit posting.
Tesla Johnson's a little. He's a troll.
Oh, okay.
Just saying things to stir the pot. Odashara for $5. I don't know why these guys love defending Trump, especially after he said he'd have a threesome with his 2 sons. Morally bankrupt. I don't. Wow. And then $2 from Stormwolf. Mr.
Oh, that was me. That was me begging to get in.
Looking forward to call-ins.
Dude, my blood pressure was rising listening to this.
$5 from It's Fishy. Stream Riffs has 2 moods: being a complete idiot who doesn't know anything and not answering questions. I think this dude may be the biggest hack you've ever had. All hat, no fish for $5. Do you think Mitch McConnell and Jordan Peterson are fishing together at the Great Bass Pond?
No, I don't think they're dead. I just think that they're not doing so hot.
Yeah.
$10
from Odashara. Corruption, eh? Tell me why Trump won't pass the bipartisan housing bill.
That was the thing with subverting.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing with like the whole subverting voters' interest thing. Like, first of all, that's a retarded definition of corruption. But second of all, Trump's entire where's manufacturing jobs?
No new awards, infrastructure week.
Infrastructure hasn't come up. Even in the first term, we didn't get the wall done properly, right? Like, no promises he ever makes are fulfilled, right?
Except for the corrupt ones. Except the corrupt ones where he has unilateral discretion.
Like pardoning J6ers.
Yeah,
exactly.
He gets those done, for sure.